What is good, everybody? Are back this week, and we're leaving the Apex. We're going to a crowded event. We are back in Azerbaijan, specifically Baku. Last time we were here was Jamal Hill and Khalil Roundtree, whatever that main event was. Now we got a even more exciting one, in my opinion, in Rafael Fiziev going up against Manuel Torres, as well as just a lot of fighters from that region, that USSR region of the world. A lot of Russians, a lot of like European fighters on this card. Is there anything you guys feel like you need to add about the card? But I can't wait.
Um, no, nothing really. I think it's a pretty good card. In my opinion, it's a little bit better than the last main event. Uh, I think the main event for this one will deliver better than the Khalil fight, the Khalil and Jamal fight for sure. Unless if some other things go to plan that I think could happen, but I don't know. I think overall this is destined to be a better card for Azerbaijan. You got the co-main event, Shara versus Pereira. That's going to be a banger. Both go for it. Like they say, fuck the stamina bar. They just keep going for it, man. I think that's going to overall be a good card.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the main event is a little bit lackluster, but you got to remember it's pretty much the only ranked Azerbaijani main eventing the Azerbaijan card, so it makes sense. And I do agree with Mike and Tony that I think overall this card is stronger than Kyoji and Manel last week. I just think the main event isn't as good, but overall the card is. So yeah, I'm on a fucking train, so this is gonna be a first, and I apologize if my connection is ass, but we are heading to the great state of Florida. So got to find time to get the podcast in. You know how it is. So we do it on the train while we sipping that wine. But yeah, let's go ahead and get
yeah.
into the fight.
Hell yeah. Let's get it started. And our first fight of the night is two UFC debutants in the welterweight division. We have Tahir Abdullayev, representing Azerbaijan. I believe that is that flag. Going up against undefeated 13-0 Jefferson Nascimento. Funny enough, I actually did watch Jefferson's last fight. He comes from LFA, undefeated Brazilian, and he was going against this guy from Uruguay, I believe, in his last fight. I have no idea why Typology is now showing his last bouts, but it was a fun little scrap. It was a 5-round fight. It was for the interim welterweight championship in LFA, and Jefferson was getting caught. He actually, I want to say, like, definitely got rocked, if not dropped in the fight. It was against Gian Morente here. He got kind of fucked up early, but he rallied, was able to stay in it, tough as nails, and ended up getting a 4th-round body kick TKO. And this is the guy he fought, who's not bad. But as for Tahir Abdullayev, I'll be honest, I'm not as familiar or versed as I am in Nascimento, but I did see a couple of his fights, and I can't help but feel, the level of competition he's fighting is a bit questionable. Like, he has a 7-9 win, he has a 7-7 win, he has a 6-3 win, as well as his losses. 2 of them appear to be decisions, and the other one is a submission. I just think Nascimento is better anywhere this fight goes. Extended, early on, striking, grappling, you name it. I just saw him get into a dogfight against a fighter who I think is on the level of an Abdullayev. Maybe not a similar style. I think the Uruguayan was more strike heavy. This guy will probably attempt to grapple, but I just trust in Jefferson Nascimento here. And I'm going to go with a knockout win in his debut, and I want to see which round he's most prevalent in knockouts. Let's see. You got a 4th round, you got a 2nd round, got a first, second, first. I'm going to go 2nd round knockout. I think Tahir Abdullayev is going to try to grapple, but it will be to no avail, and I just expect Jefferson Nascimento to be locked in and make the most of his UFC debut and a big opportunity in his career. And still undefeated. 2nd round, Jefferson Odin Nascimento.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with Tony. I got Dean Nascimento. I mean, not Jefferson Nascimento. Jesus. My bad. I almost hit him with a Jeffrey Dean Morgan moment there. But no, Jefferson Nascimento, I got him. I remember Tony showed me a clip of his not too long, literally right after the fight hit. He showed me it, and it was a pretty cool comeback victory. It shows me that he is a tough son of a gun and stuff like that. I don't really, I kind of didn't really do too much tape on this, but I'm gonna go with I am gonna go with the undefeated Brazilian on this. I think he's gonna show out and show in. It clearly shows that even if it's an interim title or an undisputed, it's still a title fight, and he showed that even when the lights are brighter, he's still going to show up, even if he does get caught. Like, he has adversity shown. So for an undefeated fighter, that is pretty good. So I'm going to go with him. I'll go with a second round KO.
Yeah, this is an interesting fight because, on face value, both these guys debuting, we shouldn't know a lot about either one of them. That being said, Jefferson Nascimento, I do feel like is the bigger name. He was the either interim or lightweight champion of LFA. I saw his last fight. He fought a good opponent. I understood that he struggled, but he really fought a good opponent. I don't want to say like to hear Abdullayev has fought nothing but cans, because he has some good wins in there, but compared to the record of Jefferson Nascimento is taking people's O's more than once. He's beaten a lot of people with only one loss as well. And I mean, really the only bums you'll find on his record are like the first 4 fights of his UFC career. Or MMA career, I guess, because he just got in the UFC. But looking at Abdullayev, you got more of like, in his second to last fight, he was fighting somebody who was 7-9, There's still guys like, oh, he beat a 3-1 guy or a 2-0 guy. But like these guys, I feel like, are just lacking the experience to really fuck with him. Meanwhile, Jefferson Nascimento is winning title fights. Abdullayev does have good losses. He's lost to undefeated Uzbekistani Kotem Boynazarov. But, part of me just thinks, why didn't we just sign Kotem Boynazarov? Like he's from that region. He's from that area. I understand it's an Azerbaijani card. You want a Azerbaijani prospect. But it only goes as far as the prospect does. And I don't think this guy is like an S-tier prospect the same way I feel like Jefferson Nascimento could be. And, this fight is at 170. They're the same height at 5'8". The difference is Jefferson's going to go back down to lightweight, and Abdullayev is probably going to stay at 170 despite being similar sized. And I think, lighter man skill is going to play a factor. The better striker is definitely Nascimento. He does grapple as well. He has some submission wins. I would say Abdullayev is probably the better grappler. Just seems to be his more go-to method of victory, ground and pound or submission. But, like losing to somebody like Josh Togo shouldn't happen. 13-6, regional bum pretty much. And honestly, that's like a better regional bum. I can forgive like you losing to Kodum, but this guy's, losing in PFL MENA, if that's the guy you're losing to, I'm not going to trust you to beat a guy who's undefeated, can strike and can grapple, and was a champion in probably the best minor league organization outside of, the pro leagues. So I'm going to go Jefferson Nascimento. I don't know why, but I'm feeling body kick again. I'm feeling body knee. I'm feeling, these Caucasus guys are known for cutting weight. This guy seems like he's kind of like a thick dude, not very tall, but thick and wide. I could see him having a rough weight cut, maybe even coming in heavy. Jefferson Nascimento is going to have to worry about that because he's used to cutting to 155, and I think we're just going to see a more disciplined, faster, better striker, and he's going to be able to take advantage of Abdullayev not facing as good of opponents as he is. So I'm going to go Jefferson Nascimento with a knee to the body KO in the second round. I think after he kind of like put some lactic energy into his takedowns, that's when Jefferson Nascimento can really open up and work that body and get a body TKO due to exhaustion. So I'm going to say Jefferson Nascimento, knee to the body, maybe a body kick, but I'm going to go second round body KO.
All right, clean sweep in the first fight of the night. Apologies for the topology being so late. Our second fight of the night is in the bantamweight division between Kazakhstan's Bezkat Almakhan, 12-3, going up against Brazil's Gene Matsumoto, 17-2. This is a really interesting fight, in my opinion. Gene Matsumoto, he's a guy who has close fights. His last 3 fights have all been split decisions, whether he's won them or lost them. Against the likes of Farid Basharat most recently. That fight was very competitive. I felt like rounds 1 and 3 are questionable. Round 2, I think I definitely gave to Farid, but rounds 1 and 3 are the argument for Matsumoto of being a decision. I think he shot more takedowns than Farid. He had 7 to like Farid's 3, I think. And, I've never really been too high on Matsumoto, but he fights to like very close margins, and he's well-rounded. He has like a BJJ background. He's like Japanese Brazilian. He's shown that he will shoot takedowns. I think his wrestling is improving. He's still a somewhat young fighter, 26 years old, despite having over 19 pro fights. I think his finishing potential, though, isn't really crazy. I know 9 finishes out of 17 pro wins, but in the UFC, 3 straight split decisions, a decision, 1 finish in 5 UFC fights, that indicates to me that at a higher level of competition, shit gets real. And it's not as easy as, on the regional scene as it once appeared. As for Bezkat Almakhan, this is a guy who's kind of been through the ringer a little bit. He doesn't have great pedigree in terms of his resume in comparison to Matsumoto's, but his losses, are all complimentary in my opinion. Umar Nurmagomedov in his debut, that's a tough out. And, he even hurt Umar or dropped him, but then he got dominated in the grappling. He lost most recently to Alexandre Topuria, who I think is, a very good bantamweight. He showed good boxing in that fight. He can grapple. I think Topuria is a good fighter as well. And then his third loss, which was his first loss, Sultan Zolduzhalek Ulu. He's 19-2, Kyrgyzstan guy. So, I think all these guys he's fighting that he's losing to are all good. Matsumoto is a good fighter, but I've just really never been particularly high on him. I feel like he doesn't win at crazy enough margins. Every fight feels close. 3 straight splits against Bashrat, Rob Font, and I believe Miles Johns. And I truly believe Miles Johns did enough to get his hand raised. So for all those reasons, I feel like, yes, Matsumoto is going to have the grappling edge, and I expect him to try to wrestle. But I really like Bezkat striking. And I know he had a bad look in his Topuria fight where he just kind of got walked down and was like, no mas, I don't want to get hit anymore. It kind of felt like that type of performance. I just feel like Nurmagomedov, Topuria, and the Kyrgyzstan guy, I feel like they're really good fighters and well-rounded. Matsumoto is too, but I don't know. I feel like Umar hits harder. Topuria hits harder. That guy hits harder. I think the Rob Font fight, the Bashrat fight, the Miles Johns fight, he's well-rounded, but he's not particularly special at any area. So unless he just grapple fucks Bezkat, I think Bezkat's the better striker. I think Bezkat's fought just as many good guys as he has. I'm going to go Bezkat by decision. In the upset, I think his striking is going to kind of just be valued higher than the attempts of grappling for Matsumoto. I do expect Matsumoto to have a very grappling-heavy game plan, but I think Bezkat's going to be keen in on that. And, I don't want to be MMA math, but I'll just leave it at this. One guy had a competitive fight with Rakitona. The other guy slept him in the first round in Canada. So I'm going to go with Kazakhstan's Bezkat Almakhan with the upset win by decision in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with the underdog shot as well. I'm surprised he is the underdog. Gene Matsumoto isn't bad, but he isn't good either. I'm honestly, I rate like Tony said, I rate the losses of Bezkat Almakhan's way better than Gene Matsumoto's. While Bezkat Almakhan is fighting a Topuria brother who's really good, and then you're fighting an Umar Nurmagomedov, a Nurmagomedov family member. That is not, those 2 losses are not bad, and he was having some decent performances out of both fights. He was holding his own in those fights. He dropped Umar, and he was holding his own on the feet against Alexandre Topuria. I think Bezkat is really good. A little underrated. I'm not sitting here and gonna say that he's this killer or anything like that, but I think he's a little slept on in this fight, man. I'm gonna go with the Bezkat Almakhan. I'll go with decision because Gene Matsumoto doesn't really get finished like that. So we'll have to see how it goes. Wait, can I see his record on decisions? Bezkat's? How many wins does he have on decision? Okay, wow. That is not good. That is not good.
Yeah, he's a knockout artist. 10 knockouts and 12 wins. He kills people for real. But the 2 decisions, it's Topuria and Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, bro. I'm gonna go KO. I'm gonna go KO then. I'll switch it. I think he's just. I think he's really good, man. I'll go second round, or you know what? No, I'll switch it up. I've been going in and out on that. I'll go I'll go third round TKO for Bezkat Almacan.
I'm going to make it a clean sweep for our first underdog of the night. I'm also going with Beksat Almacan, and I think the odds I feel like kind of should be flipped. I think Beksat should be a little bit more of a favorite. We've seen him lose to Alexander Topuria and Umar, but he honestly gave up a pretty good fight in those fights. The Topuria fight, at least early. Later, he kind of lost it a little bit, as Tony said. But I'd much rather have your two losses be Toporian and Nurmagomedov than fucking Unk Font and Farid Basharat. And like I'm looking at Gene Matsumoto's career. Last 3 fights, all split decisions. Like he's not somebody that makes it clear. If he wins, it's going to be by split decision, is the way I feel, because this is a close matchup. And of course, Beksat winning by KOs every time, never winning a decision. I kind of want to take the risk and pick Beksat to win by a decision because I think Gene Matsumoto's good. He's young, he's well rounded, but he just lets himself get hit too much. And against a guy like Beksat, who's got really disciplined hands, I just don't like that for him. Beksat, he's not really going to offensively wrestle you, but he's got great defensive wrestling. I mean, this is a guy who was able to stuff takedowns and get up from takedowns from Umar Nurmagomedov. I don't care what kind of I don't care if you're like cousins with Damian Maia. You're not going to hold him down. Umar's a whole nother level, and if he can like barely do it and he gets dropped by Beksat, I don't trust Gene Matsumoto with his like shitty kicks at range. I feel like he tries to be too technical, and he's just not that guy. He needs to like get in people's faces and like slam body kicks and flying knees and that type of shit and opportunistic submissions. But he tries to be like patient, and he lets like a guy like Farid Basharat, who's a grappler, outstrike him. I feel like that fight was won on the feet more than anything. And I understand Farid's pretty decent, but that's a guy who wants to wrestle you. He doesn't want to strike, really. Gene should want to strike. And, I feel like there was a lot of IQ moves there that were bad. I feel like he shot takedowns on Farid and got him reversed. I don't trust that against a guy like Beksat Almacan. And I know I've been kind of shitting on the caucus fighters today. Like I was talking about Tahir Abdullayev and caucus fighters in general coming in heavy and, pretty much just using brute force to win their fights. I do not think Kazakhstanis apply to that mold. I think Kazakhstanis are kind of the opposite. They'd rather be a little bit slender, tall, long, fast, and more than anything technical. And I think Beksat Almacan's got that in spades. He's jacked, he's fast, he's got good combos. And I think, if this fight stands on the feet, and I don't trust Matsumoto to take him down like I explained with Umar, I think if this is a striking fight, Matsumoto's tough enough to survive the round. He's got a good chin, he's young. Unless Gene Matsumoto just like snaps into his prime all of a sudden and looks like fucking Anderson Silva, I think he loses this fight. I think Beksat's the better striker, and I think he's going to be able to neutralize any wrestling that Matsumoto does. Because Matsumoto only really wrestles panically. He's like, oh, I'm losing in the striking, better shoot. He's never like, yeah, I'm going to go out there, take him down, sub him. That's never his game plan. It's like opportunistic submissions and kicking at range. I think Beksat's going to bully that range. I think he's going to get in, box him up. I'm going to say Beksat decision. I'm going to say 29-28. I could see something happening for Matsumoto. But I'm going to pick Beksat Almacan to win his first fight by decision here in UFC Azerbaijan.
Clean sweep for the former Kazakhstan Street Beefs fighter as we move on to the welterweight division, where we have Ukraine's Daniil Donchenko going up against Sweden's Theodor Bergeron. I hope I pronounced that correctly. If I remember correctly, Daniil Donchenko won the Ultimate Fighter. It was like a year or two ago. And then he had his, I think Morono was his debut. I could be wrong. Let me double check that. I want to say it was his debut. It was a closer fight than you like, close just in the sense for it to go the distance. I mean, that was just a world that I never saw that fight going. I thought for sure he would murder Morono. Oh no, I'm tweaking. He did have a UFC debut prior to that. He right hooked Rodrigo Cezinado, whoever that is. But then he fought Alex Morono, was a massive favorite. I think we all probably picked first round knockout, and funny enough, he goes the distance. Not the best look, but I expect him to be hungrier going into this matchup against the debutant, Theodor Bergeron. I don't really know too much about him. I'm not going to lie to y'all. I really don't. The Swedish guy. But 3 pro losses. I'm imagining, he's never been knocked out, so I guess there's that. He's been subbed before. He's got 2 decision losses, 1 to a 12-8 guy. And Justin Burleson being one of the submissions. He's not bad. But I'm going to go Daniil Donchenko. He's a massive favorite in the spot. Alex Morono, he's weird. Like, sometimes he'll have times where he just gets slimed out, and then he'll have times where fucking, like, he's looking like Canelo against Ponzinibbio, but then he ultimately gets slimed. I just think Donchenko, like Ultimate Fighter winner, there's a pedigree with that. The UFC is like that. He's pretty finish heavy throughout his career. Like that was a rare decision for him. I'm gonna go Donchenko by. This guy's never been knocked out, but there's a first time for everything. I'll go Donchenko by. I want to say majority of his knockouts are in the first round. I'm kind of tempted to go first round. Could be some jitters for the Swedish guy, but let me see where most of his knockouts happen in what round. I mean, yeah, most of them are in round 1, round 2. I've always been just a guy who just spams round 2, just because I feel like you analyze things in round 1 if you don't get the finish, and then the reads are there in round 2 and they present themselves. So I think I'll run it back with a second round TKO for Daniil Donchenko, where he clearly wins the first round, and it's like, damn, like how did he not knock him out in the first round? Like he looked like he's on the verge of getting TKO'd, but he just makes it to the bell, and then Donchenko just pounces on him and continues onward. So yeah, I'm gonna go second round TKO for the Ukrainian Daniil Donchenko.
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I'm going with Donchenko as well. Like, I just don't really know too much about the new guy that's coming up. I just know Donchenko's, from what I've seen, is really good, and he's pretty decent. He's a good finisher, and for it to be his first, this is his debut. The other dude, yeah, for that to be his debut is insane to me.
Yeah.
Can I check more of the? I know you probably seen it. I was trying to do more.
The Swedish guy or the Ukrainian?
The Swedish. I know Donchenko.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me take a look. I know he's lost majority on is just decisions, right? He has been subbed before. Donchenko has some subs. I'm not going to go KO. I'm going to go with a club and sub. I think he drops him and subs him. I'll go with round 2 as well. And I'm the same way as Tony. I go with round 2 a lot, too. I'm a round 2 spammer myself. But like what he said, man, it's just an analysis type of thing, man. You can't really blame us. I'll go with club and sub round 2 for Donchenko.
Real quick before I get into the fight, I love round 2 boxing. Like Tony said, it's like right after the feeling out process is done and right when the fight like really starts getting into it and people get locked in. Looking at this fight, though, Daniil Donchenko, first things first, shout out for smashing Polyana Viana. Shout out. You're going to have a great career, just like Pereira. No, I don't know, but shout out for that. He's 24. He's young. He's going to improve with time. You don't see usually guys in the above 155 coming in this young. 24, going to be 25 in 2 months. He's young, and this other guy he's facing, Theodore Bergen, you know, in one way I'm apprehensive to pick Donchenko by KO simply because of that Morono fight. Morono, I thought, and you guys all thought that was supposed to be a victim, lamb to slaughter, so to speak, but he wasn't. He was able to show a little technique and craftiness and kind of lose a decision. That being said, I do think Alex Morono, despite how buns he is, he does get wins in the UFC. He's been in the UFC what feels like almost a decade at this point. Like, this is a guy with experience. Before that, when Donchenko was in The Ultimate Fighter, first round KO. This guy, he won by decision. But, you know, when he fights a certain level of competition, I feel like he fucks him up. You know, he fought for a belt in Niza. Never heard of that promotion, but he took those guys to round 4, unanimous decision in title fights. But before that, round 1, round 2, round 1, round 2. He had a loss in there too. Round 2, round 2, round 2, round 1. You know, I think this guy is fighting somebody who's more like on the level of somebody he would have fought in The Ultimate Fighter. And to be honest, looking at this guy, Theodore Bergen, I don't even think he's got a good enough record. I don't think he's good enough to get in The Ultimate Fighter. And that's saying something, considering the Conor Chandler season was filled with like fucking 12-6, 36-year-old prospects. You know, but looking at Theodore Bergen's record, I mean, why are you losing to these guys? Why are you losing to, like, if I'm going to pick you to beat Daniil Donchenko, you better beat Justin Burlinson. Now, I understand Burlinson's good for Cage Warriors, although he would have gotten smoked by Clancy if he didn't cut his arm. You know, this is a guy that got smoked by Johan Laness. Y'all remember fucking Johan Laness? He starched him in fucking 1. That's Johan Laness, bro. That's a can. That's a Canadian male. at least make it to a decision with Burlinson and at least have it be a couple fights more away. Like if that's early in your career, I'll forgive it. But the thing that really does the damning to me, and like I get like Sweden doesn't have that great of an MMA scene. Usually Sweden's best guys are Brazilian like Felipe Lima or from the Caucasus like Hamzat outside of Gustafsson. But only thing honestly worse than them is Italians. And you lost to a 13-8 Italian, Leonardo Damiani, 35 years old. Bum. Like looking at this dude, he lost on the Contender Series to somebody. I don't even know who. AJ Fletcher. You remember him? He got flying kneed by AJ Fletcher. AJ Fletcher is cut from the UFC because he sucks. This is the guy that made AJ Fletcher look goated. Y'all remember Laureano Staropoli? He lost to him. He lost to him. So this Italian guy, this is a bum. And I'm talking about the Italian guy. He's the one that has those losses on the Contender Series. But this is the guy you're losing to? And like, this isn't like, oh, that was back in the day. This is the Italian guy's last fight. This was March of 2025. And I'm going to expect you from losing to this fucking bum to go in to beat a dude that just smashed fucking Polyana Viana. There's winner genetics there. There's winner genetics. There's a war going on in your home country, and somehow you avoided the draft. You didn't get murdered. You got to the United States. You got a UFC contract, beat the Ultimate Fighter, and bagged Polyana Viana. We all thought Marco Tulio was a winner. And, like, this is what I respect about Daniil Donchenko. He's smashing. He ain't cuffing. Respect. Every man, take notes. There's hoes you wife, and there's hoes you smash. He's smashing that hoe. Daniil Donchenko going to smash another hoe in the first or second round. Theodore Bergen, bum. I can't trust you. Sweden sucks. You lost to an Italian. Italians suck even more. Daniil Donchenko, Ukraine's got a good MMA scene. Fuck it. We go in second round, too. Second round sweep.
Clean sweep for the Ukrainian as we head to the next matchup in the featherweight division where we have 13-4-1 Khan Ofli. I swear last fight he represented Australia. He's back to representing Turkey. Genghis Khan Ofli, take that nickname away. Going up against Colombia's Javier Reyes, 23-5. This is an interesting fight in the featherweight division. Khan Ofli, coming off a very controversial fight, in my opinion. We all had Yiza, if I remember correctly, and I felt like we all thought Yiza won that fight. They give it to Khan Ofli. It is what it is. He's like not really any finishing potential. To be frank, I'm sorry. Like I know he's got 6 subs, but at least at a UFC level, I want to see he's got at a UFC level, no finish more than he gets finishes. He has 1 finish. He's got the Ricardo Ramos fight, and I picked him in that. I think he was an underdog in that fight, if I'm not mistaken. To be an underdog to Ricardo Ramos, that tells you a lot about what they think of you. No offense. But 1 finish in, what is this? 4 UFC fights. It's Ricardo Ramos, red flag. His losses aren't bad, though. Myron Santos fucked him up. Myron Santos is good. I'm okay with that. This Isaac Hardman, he's like 15-3 now. He has like a boxing thing, so he's probably outstriking him. I'm not mad at that. And Mitch Martin, it was a split decision early in his career. That guy's 8-0 now. So those losses I'm not mad at. But the Muhammad Naimov fight, like Naimov's not a bad fighter, trains in Denver, Tajikistan, like he's all right. But I really felt like he lost the Yiza fight. Yiza had more big moments in that fight and that variety where like I felt maybe all, but it didn't even really feel like it. As for Javier Reyes, I would say he's the more prolific finisher in this matchup, as well as having many more fights. And he's fought in some regional promotions that I rate. He fought in LFA. He fought in FFC. He fought in what I think this is. Let me see that. Is that Combate Global? I want to say that is Combate Global. Why is it not showing it? Give me a second. Sorry for the wait. Yes, Combate Global. I rate that promotion. He's got 28 pro fights. He's relatively the same age, 32 years old. He's a bit older, but that reach, that 73-inch reach, he utilizes it. And you saw that in the Douglas De Silva Andrade fight. That was a sweaty fight early. He got caught. I think Javier got dropped, but he came right back and fucking fucked up Douglas De Silva de Andrade, who I think, from the bantamweight division is definitely more dangerous than a Khan Ofli, at least on the feet. So for all those reasons, I'm just going to go Javier Reyes here. I think he's got the finishing upside, the reach advantage, And even if Hopefully wants to grapple, like Javier got subs. I think he's got 8 submission wins out of 23 pro wins. Like he can grapple. He's got 28 fights. There isn't anything that Javier Reyes hasn't seen, in my opinion. And his last loss, it was against Chris Makate, but prior to that one was Larry and Douglas, who's now in the UFC. And Makate, like he's actually a decent fighter on the regional scene. Like I've seen him in LFA and other promotions too. But I'm gonna go Javier Reyes by. Tempted. I'm tempted to go to. I think a finish is happening. It's just which one is it? Is it KO or sub? Because I could see a panic takedown into a sub, and I could just see Javier Reyes just like fucking him up. He has a 7-inch reach advantage as well as being the same height as Conor, which I think is huge for him in this fight. He's been knocked out once. He's never been subbed. Fuck, it's tough. Like I'm going Reyes by finish. It's just which way, knockout or sub. He's been knocked out one time by Santos. I'm gonna go sub. I think he's gonna like club and sub him. I think Reyes is gonna just like hit. It could be a TKO. It very much well could be, but either way, I'm going Reyes inside the distance. I think it's gonna be a club and sub. I think hopefully he's gonna try to shoot a takedown, establish top control, and like early on, it'll be like, oh, he's just gonna try to wet blanket him. But somehow, some way, I think Reyes is gonna force a scramble. He's gonna buck and move, and they're gonna get back on the feet. And I think he's gonna hurt Conor hopefully. And hopefully he's going to shoot another bad takedown. This time it's going to look more like a panic takedown. And near end of the first round submission, I'm going to go for end of first round club and sub Javier Reyes. And from a panic takedown from Conor, hopefully after getting fucked up on the feet. Change that nickname. You're not Genghis.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going with Javier Reyes. I'm going with first round KO. I just don't think Conor is good. After watching that shit of a performance, bro, that shit sandwich of a performance, we're really awarding decisions, bro. Are we really being for real awarding decisions after getting fucking fleshlighted every single parts of rounds? Like he was getting dropped every single fucking time, bro. Like he was getting his ass whooped by Yiza. I never seen that in my life. Well, there's been horrible decisions. I can't sit here and act like that's the worst decision I've ever seen. But low key, I'm not gonna lie, it's up there. It really is up there. Like I was watching him getting his ass whooped for 15 minutes, and they awarded him that decision. And bro's not even fully Australian. He doesn't even rep y'all's country for real. He reps Turkey and then he reps Australia. Like that's disgraceful. But don't worry, Javier Reyes is just going to Venezuelan vixen his way out into a first-round KO, man. I don't know. I just don't. I think I'm just going to keep fading Conor Hopefully. I was not impressed with his... Overall, I'm not impressed with his UFC run. Losing to Myron Santos, I'll give it a pass. But overall, from what I've seen, you're a shit sandwich, my guy.
Going with Javier Reyes as well. Looking at his record, it's far from a beautiful record. You know, he's got 5 losses, but he is 32. So it isn't like, Javier Reyes, he's going to be the next big thing. He's crazy. It's more of he's ready to fight in the UFC right now in the unranked portion. And maybe if he's lucky, get into the top 15 later on. I don't think anybody's sitting here thinking Javier Reyes is a champion. I just want to make that clear. That being said, I think he smokes the fuck out of Conor Hopefully. Genghis Khan, at this point, stop claiming Australia, stop claiming Turkey. You'll get an aura boost and probably a fight status boost if you just started claiming Mongolia. I know you're not Mongolian. Genghis Khan, though, it's a missed opportunity. Brendan Allen's just fucking claiming every country at this point, so why not? Why not Genghis Khan claim Mongolia? That being said, Genghis Khan, which is a shame to say, he can't fight. Genghis Khan can't fight. Conor Hopefully cannot stand and bang. He cannot do that. Muhammad Naimov, it was a close fight. And, you know, Muhammad Naimov, I know people think of him like, oh, he's a powerful guy. He's a dangerous striker. More like cheater. Anytime he wins a fight on the feet with like a knockdown or anything like he did to Nathaniel Wood, it's because he cheated to get there. And, Myron Santos took care of him. He took care of Conor Hopefully as well. I don't think Javier Reyes is going to have a similar game plan to Myron Santos. Myron Santos is very lucrative, very elusive on the feet. He can kind of set things up and run you into it. Not to say that Javier Reyes can't do that, but he's not going to sit back and do it. He's going to get in your face and do it. He's going to pretty much scrap you until you give an opening. Whereas like Myron's, on the back foot, looking, being technical. It's different, but it's similar. I think they can find a shot on Konofsky just the same, just in a different way, if that makes sense. I think Konofsky, like you should have lost the fight to Yiza. Yiza beat the shit out of you. Let's be honest. Yiza beat the fucking shit out of him. And it was a robbery that Yiza didn't get that decision in his favor. Ricardo Ramos, oh, wow, you subbed Ricardo Ramos. He puts his fucking head in a guillotine every fight he's in. I guess props for taking the back. I don't know. But, I think Javier Reyes, despite not having a beautiful record, he's a scrappy guy that'll get in your face and force a finish. And that's way more that can be said with Konofsky. The only threat here would be, Konofsky can like have a reactionary takedown and stop that momentum. He's really not very good at that. In the Muhammad Naimov fight, it's been pretty, and the Myron Santos fight, it's been shown he really can't take down people and dominate in the wrestling, even the Izzo fight. If you're decent, you're going to probably win against Konofsky. It's a shame he fucking got as far as he did in the Ultimate Fighter and is still in the UFC. But, I guess I'll keep it short and sweet. Javier Reyes is just going to scrap him. He's going to get in his face. He's going to threaten guillotines when Konofsky goes for takedowns. He's just going to be scrappy. He might get knocked down by like a fluky overhand, but he's going to get back up and he's going to get back in his face. I think that's what you expect from Javier Reyes. He's a guy that's seen it all, more or less, on the regional scene. And that's kind of what I see this is. I see Konofsky and Javier Reyes is more or less a regional fight. This could be like an LFA title fight or a, pick your promotion title fight or number one contender fight. And I think just if you can't get the wrestling going, you're going to get smoked by Javier Reyes. He's a dangerous guy. He goes for it. I'm going to pick Javier Reyes. Like I said, I think he scraps him out, and I think he finds a finish in that chaos. I'm going to go Javier Reyes by TKO. That Douglas Silva de Andrade fight was crazy, and he still found a KO in the first round after getting dropped like 2 or 3 times. Konofsky does not have that same power as Douglas Silva de Andrade. He's honestly a victim. So I'm going to go Javier Reyes, first round KO. I think he's going to get right in his face, not respect the takedown, not respect the striking, and just fucking TKO him. Clinch knee, hook in the pocket, something up close, something like within the phone booth. Javier Reyes KO, first round.
Just a thought I just hit my mind. The record, the style, the way he fights, I think Javier Reyes is like Colombian Diego Lopez. I think that's what he is. Like he's like just a finished kind of guy.
Worst chin, though.
Worst chin. Yeah, worst chin. He's been knocked out 2 times. One of them was Larian, but like still, like I think that is what his like at his peak. That's what he's trying to be. He's trying to be Colombian Diego Lopez. Clean sweep nonetheless with Blair Javier Reyes. As we move on to the middleweight division, where we have Uzbekistan's Nurulstan Black Ruzaboyev 36-9-2. Going up against Andre Pulayev, 10-4. This is an interesting fight here in the middleweight division. Nurulstan Ruzaboyev is a very experienced fighter. He's fought in welterweight. He's fought in middleweight. He's got like 45 plus pro fights to Pulayev's 14. That being said, I do question his schedule, his strength of schedule a little bit. I do appreciate the amount of fights that he has, but a lot of these guys, I think are kind of questionable. His wins, just a lack of experience. Yes, some good wins, but majority of them are questionable, to say the least. As for Andre Pulayev, he's 1-2 in the UFC, and his only win is Nick Klein. That's saying something. But his 2 losses, look who they are. It's Ateba Gautier, where he goes the distance, and Christian Leroy Duncan, where he goes the distance. Now, he clearly lost both those fights. But I can tell you definitively that those are probably some of the better strikers in the middleweight division as a whole right now. Ateba Gautier's power in his hands. Christian Leroy Duncan's he's just a chaos. Like, he can do so many different things in there, kicks, elbows, and things like that. Another loss that he had was against an undefeated guy by first round knockout who currently is 13-1. Seems to be a pretty good fighter in my opinion as well. And his other loss was against a guy who was 7-2 at the time, who currently is 10-6. So that's his bad, loss of the group. I think Pulayev is the rangier guy. I think he's the actual middleweight. No offense to Nurulstan, but he has fought it well. So if he can make that weight, I don't really think he's a true middleweight per se, despite his frame. I think they're lying about this, guys. They've said he's 6'5". I swear in some fights I don't think he's 6'5". I think Pulayev is really 6'4". I don't believe Nurlston is really 6'5". Reach. I feel like, the grappling edge is definitely in favor of Nurlston. That should 100% be the game plan here. But I'm noticing something here. He is a finisher through and through. 33 wins, 33 finishes out of 36 wins. This guy is a kill or be killed. And Pulayev's been knocked out in the first round. So I think Nurlston's win conditions are a first round finish, whether it's a sub where he gets the grappling going or he hits him early and catches him. If Leroy Duncan and Ateba Gautier can't do that, I'm not picking Nurlston Ruzaboyev to do that. So I'm eliminating that first round knockout threat. Maybe there could be a first round sub, but I'm thinking Pulayev's the better striker going into this matchup. And then he's 3-7 in decisions. So if the fight gets extended, I don't think he's a great minute winner. So now I'm kind of thinking like, I'm going to go with Andre Pulayev. I think if Ruzaboyev doesn't get the grappling going or he doesn't chin him in the first, the longer this fight goes, I saw Pulayev win the third round against Gautier. I saw Pulayev go the distance with Leroy Duncan. Like, I think these guys would fuck up Nurlston Ruzaboyev, to be blunt. I'm going to go Andre Pulayev by decision, where he's able to mitigate the grappling exchanges and he's able to land the better striking and stay long, use his kicks. I think he's just the actual middleweight. I don't think Ruzaboyev's a real middleweight. I think they're lying about his height. He's got a reach disadvantage in this one. I think early on he's dangerous on the feet, but as the fight progresses, he's really not that guy in terms of a finisher as people perceive him to be. So against popular opinion, I'm actually going to go Andre Pulayev in the upset by decision, where he's able, like I said, to mitigate the grappling. That being said, he does train at a really good gym, Nurlston Ruzaboyev. He trains in Philadelphia with Marquez Mixed MMA, so I 100% do believe they are going to try to grapple. The logical pick would be him by submission, but I don't know. Like at a UFC level, like, let me see. Goes the distance with Stoltzfus. It was a gross fight. Second round KO over McConaughey. All right, you're supposed to do that. Joaquin Buckley was an underdog, and he beat him. Dumas, he cheated in that fight. Let's be blunt. Bruno Ferreira, he did catch him. I think Pulayev's just a taking style than Ferreira. So, yeah, that's my explanation, and that's where I'm going. I'm going to go Pulayev by decision.
Tough fight to call, man. I'm gonna go with Nurlston Ruzaboyev. I think I'm gonna go with him. I just think he's actually, hold up. Let me see the tail of the tape real quick. I want to see something real quick. No. Just hit the.
Nurlston's 6'5", 76-inch reach. Pulayev is 6'4", 78.5-inch reach.
Okay. Then I'll recant my statement. I was gonna go with mainly because Ruzaboyev is just a fucking weight bully, but I'm going with Pulayev. We've never really seen anybody around the same size and stuff as Nurlston, I don't think. So I want to see that. I want to see him fight somebody his own size, and he's finally going to fight somebody his own size. And he has got so many losses. I'm not going to sit here and act like he's some fucking successful weight bully. But I just hate people like that just use their height and range and just fucking go into these smaller weight classes. This motherfucker went to 170 at one point. That shit really pissed me off. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I think he's a big weight bully. I don't like Ruzaboyev. So you could kind of take this as a hate fade. Originally, I was going to pick him. But after watching some Pulayev stuff, I forgot that he is like 6'4" and shit like that. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna go with a second round Pulayev finish, maybe a decision. Actually, I'll go decision. I'll go with the Pulayev decision here, 29-28, where he will have a struggle in the first round, and then Ruzaboyev will gas out later on. He does gas out later as the fight progresses. So I will go with that. That prediction.
Yeah, this is a tough fight. Now that you guys kind of picked Pulayev, I see it. I do see the vision. Nursultan Ruzaboyev is kind of a guy that likes to be the bigger guy. I don't think his striking is all that. That being said, his wrestling is pretty good. His submission game is pretty good. I can say that, but against who? Who is he submitting in the UFC? I get it. He's catching Bruno Ferreira. Okay. You're catching, or you're just fucking sodomizing and KOing Eric McConaughey. Ooh, it's Eric McConaughey, even though he almost did beat Susrakayev. But at the same time, like I'm looking at Pulayev, I'm like, you've had some tough fights in the UFC. You fought at Tebagotier, but why in the fuck are you in CLD as well? Why are you taking Nick Klein to the second round? Nick Klein was the sole reason I picked Yusri Belgarui to fuck up Ansar Abdul Malik. That's his name, I think. And Pulayev, I think, just not vicious. He's not a vicious person. He's not somebody that wants to go out and hurt you. I don't see that in his game. I see as like, let me use my reach and sit on the back foot and just like, I guess, try to win by decision or KO if it's Nick fucking Klein. But, on the Contender Series, he beat Liam Anderson. Not really sure who that is, but he beat him by decision. And since then, he's 6-3. Not a great fighter by any means. Andre Pulayev, I don't think is that great either. And I also don't think Ruziboyev is all that. I watched that Stoltzfus fight, and honestly, I scored it for fucking Stoltzfus. But, unfortunately for Stoltzfus, he was born in Germany and not Uzbekistan, and he doesn't have a V at the end of his name. So he doesn't get the glaze. Oh, this guy's bad. He's a marauder. And that's not going to happen for Stoltzfus because we've seen so much of him getting fucked up before. But let me ask this question. We've watched the Usman fight against Buckley. We've watched the Brady fight against Buckley. Why the fuck would a caucus fighter who's 6'5", coming down from middleweight, not be able to have a physical advantage against like 5'10" Joaquin Buckley? I get it. It's a short frame. He's bulky. It's probably hard to take down. But you look like a fuck. It's one thing to be able to get a takedown. It's another thing for Buckley to out-wrestle you. You might convince me. Only thing I'm feeling is like if I were to put these guys in a phone booth, Ruziboyev 100% walks out. I don't think Andre Pulayev is a fighter at heart as much as he has a martial artist. But I'm going to pick Ruziboyev just because I don't respect anything Andre Pulayev is throwing. It's tough, and you guys are making me shit my pants about this, but I just don't think there's enough danger factor for Ruziboyev to respect from Pulayev. I get that he's the same size and he can kind of play the rangy game, but Ruziboyev doesn't really use his range. He kind of wants to get into the pocket and make it a gritty fight, get in the clinch, get a couple takedowns. I'm going to go Ruziboyev by mixing in the wrestling and get a submission. I really think if he decides to mix in the wrestling, it could be an easy matchup. I think, if you strike with him, you could lose a 29-28 or 30-27 decision. But I think, there might be a time where Pulayev stabs him in the body with like a front kick, hits him with a good jab, and he's like, all right, change of plans, time to wrestle, time to get in the pocket and scrap. And I don't think that's a game where Pulayev can really handle. He's been KO'd in the first round before. He's had a very uneventful amateur career, getting submitted in there, losing a bunch. Honestly, he's 3-5 in the amateurs, which, that's the amateurs for a reason. But what I'm seeing is there's an opportunity for somebody who's aggressive to KO you in the first round. And I'm also seeing there's an opportunity for somebody who's a good grappler to submit you in one round. That being said, I think it'll probably be the second round. I think he could probably play at range for a little bit. And eventually, Ruziboyev is just going to say, fuck this. We're stinking it up. We're getting the Kimura. We're getting the arm triangle. I'm going to go Ruziboyev second round submission. I just don't I don't think there's anything to respect from Pulayev.
Solid points made on both sides as we head to the light heavyweight division where we have Turkey's Abdul Rahman Yakyayev going up against America's Julius Walker. Funny enough, this week USA and Turkey will be playing in the FIFA World Cup, so that'll be funny to see how that goes. I think USA wins that one, but this one's a bit different. I'm going to go Abdul Rahman Yakyayev, shocker. This is a guy I'm pretty high on in the light heavyweight division. I know he did have a little bit of a sweat his last fight against this guy only fights undefeated guys, this Brazilian dude who they gave him what's his name? Yes, Brenson Ribeiro. This guy, he fought DR Nergizé, he's fought a bunch of undefeated guys. He got he fraud checked, I think, I can't even pronounce that one guy's name. It was some Daggy name or whatever. But going back to Abdul Rahman Yakyayev, the Hunter, a lot of submissions, 5 subs, 3 TKOs. He's been the distance. That one fight he went the distance was against a fellow undefeated fighter in a championship bout that went 5 rounds, and he wrestle fucked him. So this guy can go 25 if he needs to. He only has the one loss in his amateur career, who at the time was a 0-3 guy, not the best look, but that was in 2019. His pro career started in 2021. I'm just very high on Abdul Rahman Yakyayev. I know he had a bit of a scare his last bout, but his grappling is legit. Real BJJ, not even BJJ, just real submission threat in the light heavyweight division, and the ability to get takedowns and just engage in grappling exchanges. And the reason I'm so high on that, and I've put such a precedence and an emphasis on that, is because these dudes can't grapple at light heavyweight. You look at the majority of the division, it's a lot of striking, you know. So for him to have that grappling, like, that gives him a major edge over the rest of the division. He's still fairly young, especially for the division. I want to say, 25 years old. That's a baby at light heavyweight. Like, that's a kid. I think they're not spoon feeding him as much as like an Ateba or something like that, but basically for the light heavyweight division, they kind of are doing that. They're trying to, you know, slowly build his way in. As same with Ivo Baraneski. Those are the two guys I'm very high on at light heavyweight. It's Abdul Rahman Yakyayev and Ivo Baraneski. Those are my two guys. Julius Walker, we talk about him. Had the split decision to Alonzo Menefiel, which is aging better, especially since Menefield's latest upset over Minyang Zhang. But, you know, even in that fight, he didn't look goofy. His game didn't look great. He's a grappler. But, you know, I don't care if he may have fought the better guys. I kind of don't think he even has done that. But I'm going to trust Abdul Rahman Yakyayev's grappling over his. And on the feet, I don't believe Walker poses as much a threat as fucking Ribeiro did his last fight. So this is a shoo-in for me for Yakyayev. I just need to see how does he get the finish, because I'm thinking he gets the finish here. Let's see. He's been knocked out. He's never been subbed. Dustin Jacoby got a second-round TKO his last time out. Jacoby's a former kickboxer, though. I think he's going to be the first guy to sub Julius Walker. I think he will. I'm going to go with a... I don't think the gap on the ground is as tremendous as it was against Ribeiro. So I guess I'll go second round submission Yakyayev. I could easily see first, though, honestly. He got knocked out in the second to Jacoby. I'll go second round submission Abdul Rahman Yakyayev, the Hunter.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Yakyayev as well. He's a little green for me. His last performance was really bad, but Julius Walker is not going to be the guy that I picked to beat Yakyayev. I think it's going to have to take a real high-level threat for him to lose, but I'll give him a pass because he is young. He is on the rise and stuff like that, so I'll give him a little pass, a little grace for that, but I ain't gonna lie, it is a little... It's a little nerve-wracking, but Brenson Ribeiro is way better than Julius Walker, in my opinion. I'll go with the first round. I'll go TKO. I'll go first round TKO from ground and pound strikes for Yakyayev. I just think he's better. He is a little green. He is a potential fade in the making. I got to see more. Like, if he doesn't fix any holes in that gap, I will fade him at some point, but depending on who he fights next.
Yeah, I have to make it a clean sweep. Pretty obviously so. I think Abdul Rahman Yakyayev is one of the better prospects actively, just because of how young and how well-rounded he is. He carries natural power in the hands, great grappling. And Julius Walker, you know, after having that close fight where arguably he won against Alonzo Menefiel, everybody's like, yeah, maybe he could be something in the future. And then he gets smoked by Jacoby. And, if you get smoked by Jacoby, and I like Jacoby, I pick him in a lot of his fights, and usually I'm very right when it comes to Jacoby. That being said, he's at best like number 12, and if you're getting smoked by him, I don't really see you getting into the top 15 unless like an accident happens. Whereas Abdul Rahman Yakyayev, I just feel like it's a matter of time before he is in the top 15. He's 25 at light heavyweight, 78 inch reach, 6'2". He's young, he's good, he's improving, he's well rounded. Julius Walker is young too. He's 26, and he's taller, but he's got a similar reach. And I think just there ain't really nothing to respect there. He doesn't have like one punch knockout power. He isn't like a demon on the back foot where he can outpoint you everywhere he goes. I just feel like, he had his chance to show us he was something, mix in the wrestling, show how good of a striker he was against Jacoby. And, I feel like if you lose to Jacoby, you're kind of destined to be unranked, or at least like in the bottom section of the rank. Like Kennedy Nzechukwu comes to mind. Guys like that, you can be okay, but that doesn't mean you're going to get ranked. Abdul Rahman Yakayev, like I said, I think it's a matter of a time. Great prospect. And to keep it short and simple, I think he's going to mix in the wrestling with the strike, and he's just going to smoke Julius Walker. Abdul Rahman Yakayev had a little bit of I don't even know if I just say like difficulty, but I guess like pushback in his last fight against Brenson Hibero. But once he got into it, he submitted him in the first round. And like, I'm only saying that because it didn't happen under a minute like he did everybody else. So respect to Rakayev. Great prospect. I think Julius Walker just isn't it really right now. I think he's kind of washed. Despite being 26, we've kind of seen what he can do. Unless he starts making drastic improvements. And like I said, he is 26, but I don't see him as like this ever-evolving future top-ranked guy the same way I do Yakayev. I think Yakayev smokes him. I think it could be by submission, it could be by KO, but it's going to happen early. I think it'll be happening maybe early second round. I could see that, but I'm going to go first round just because he's made a habit out of getting first-round finishes. And Julius Walker, he's kind of like a guy that came in on short notice and did well, but still lost against Menefield, and then immediately got smoked by Jacoby. Those are decent opponents, but I think, I'll be honest, I think Yakayev beats both of them. I think he beats Menefield and he out-grapples Jacoby. I'm going to say Yakayev by first-round finish. Can we pause the recording real quick? I have to make a run.
We are back as we head to the next bout on the card, the welterweight division, where we have the debut of Farman Hassanov representing Azerbaijan going up against Eric Nolan, 8-4. There's another interesting fight in this one. Eric Nolan actually fought at middleweight in his UFC debut against Baisinger Susurkayev, who is a very good fighter in his own right. And Nolan, he showed some resistance. He showed some adversity to Baisinger that we didn't necessarily expect. I did feel like Nolan was for sure better than the guy Baisinger finished on the Contender Series from Bahrain. I knew for sure he'd be better than him. And he was even I want to say, a champion of his regional promotion of CFFC, if I'm not mistaken. Let me check that. I think he came from Philadelphia or Jersey or somewhere like that. Let me see. Yeah, CFFC, and he did win the championship. He lost his debut to Baisinger Susurkayev, but that was always expected to occur. And honestly, in a losing effort, he looked good. He looked good doing it. He had a split decision to Alonzo Turner, who is what is his record currently? 7-2. He's all right. Hassanov definitely is the more potential fighter, like in terms of what they're trying to build. He also has a split decision loss to Ty Miller early in his career. He fought at middleweight. I think he's the better striker, Eric Nolan, just based on what I saw from the Baisinger Susurkayev fight. But I think the grappling of Farman Hassanov is going to be a problem. This guy on LFA was a massive favorite, and when I say the second he got a hold of Buddy on the ground and pound was hellacious. He drilled that dude into the fucking mat. Trains an American Top Team. I'm always a sucker for that. I love American Top Team. I think it's the best gym in the world. I go ad nauseum with that. But yeah, Hassanov's going to want to get this fight to the ground. Eric Nolan, I think, is going to want to be slick with his jab, utilize his striking. Because from what we saw in the Susurkayev fight, it wasn't that bad. But he ultimately did lose that fight. And I want to say he lost that fight by, what was it? Wasn't it submission? Didn't he get subbed by Susurkayev? I want to say. Let me see. I think he got subbed, if I remember correctly. Yeah, I want to say he got subbed. If it's a submission, I'm still going to probably go, I'm going to go Farman Hassanov. I was thinking about submission, but his ground and pound dude, like when he gets a hold of Nolan on the ground, he's going to try to go for the TKO. So I'm going to go Farman Hassanov with a successful UFC debut where it seems like the first takedown he gets, he just doesn't stop hitting Nolan until the ref pries him off. So I'm going to go with a Susurkayev did in the second. I think Hasanov is going to have that kind of chip on his shoulder, like, hey, I'm better than this guy. So I'll go Hasanov by late first round ground and pound TKO, where it's simply just a matter of Nolan looks decent with the jab early, but that first takedown, it's like, oh my God, like he can't get him off him. And then it's just going to be like until the ref pries him off. I'm going to go late first round ground and pound TKO for the debut of Farman Hasanov out of Azerbaijan.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with Farman Hasanov as well. I think he's just, I don't know. Eric Nolan did have a really good success against Susurkayev, but honestly, man, I don't know. I just is. I think it's just a very unfair circumstance for him. He's fighting another undefeated dude in the UFC. Like, the dude can't catch a break. I think at some point, if he does fight somebody around his caliber, I think he'll do really good. But I'm gonna go with Hasanov. It's his UFC debut. He's undefeated. It's in his home country. Like he's gonna pay the wave, I guess, for some of these Azerbaijanis, I guess, if you will. I'll go with the second round, maybe first round ground and pound TKO from Farman Hasanov. My bad, my glasses are not on.
This is a tough fight just because looking at Farman Hasanov, 5-0. You look at his opponents, not a single person has a double-digit record. Everybody's fought, like pretty much under 7 times. But, Eric Nolan, you look at his record, 8-4. That's far from beautiful. I understand he gave like a tough fight to Susurkayev, but at this point, who fucking has it? Like him, Mechanico, the Jordan Santos. Like this ain't the prediction, but Baishangir Susurkayev is not that good. Like he's a fucking training partner of Hamzat. He wasn't even supposed to be on the Contender Series, probably for good reason. He's got potential and all that, but I'm not wasting this prediction talking about Susurkayev. But I do think, Nolan having success against Susurkayev, like it really sounds better than it looks. I think Susurkayev's good, talented, but he gets hit. He's unproven. He's green, to say the least. And I think, you had an opportunity on short notice to make yourself a name against a guy like that, and somehow he lands one leg kick and you go down. I don't like that just from a durability perspective, to be honest. And looking at the record, 8-4 versus 5-0, I'm not impressed by 5-0 either. Like, if you came in like 10-0, 8-0, I'd be like, okay, maybe. But, he's fighting guys with, albeit short records, but usually positive records. ATT, like Tony said, his opponent's 6-0, 3-1, 3-0, 1-0, 0-0. You can do worse than that. It's just, looking at amateur bouts, head kicked KO. I don't think Eric Nolan's doing that, though, to be fair. So I think I've picked against a lot of Azerbaijanis, and I'm going to continue to pick against a lot of Azerbaijanis on this card. I think this is going to be one of the Azerbaijanis that I go with. Farman Hasanov, he seems to have a good grappling game. He seems to have good striking as well. Not a lot out there on that guy, to be fair, so I wouldn't be surprised if something crazy happens. But this is Eric Nolan. I think people are overhyping his performance against Susurkayev. I still think this is pretty much like an LFA bomb. But, Farman Hasanov, 30 years old, only 5-0. I get the feeling he probably picked this up recently, whereas Nolan's probably been a little bit more of a habitual MMA fighter. Fought at 185. He's the bigger guy by 2 inches. Similar reach, slightly favoring Hasanov. I don't feel confident. I do not feel confident in this pick whatsoever, but I am going to go Farman Hasanov. I think the grappling and the striking will work well for him. I think he's probably I don't have any basis to say it, but, if he can mix in the wrestling and the striking, even similar to Susurkayev, despite how much adversity he has, he should be able to win on paper. So I'm going to go Farman Hasanov. Scary, tough, but I am going to pick him. Mixing in the grappling with the striking. Eric Nolan's an 8-4 American bum. We've seen this time and time again. I'm not going to pick it. I'm going to pick Farman Hasanov by motherfucker. God damn it. How do I fucking pick him? Do I pick him by decision? I didn't see a lot of submissions on his record. He does seem to have a grappling game, but Nolan defended Susarkaev's takedowns pretty well and lost by TKO. All of his he doesn't have a win by submission. All right, I'm gonna go Farman Hassanov by TKO. I'll say third round. Eric Nolan mixes it up, but eventually, there's too much to respect with Hassanov with the level changes and coming up with strikes. I'm gonna go Farman Hassanov, third round TKO. Not gonna think about it too much. Just pick him.
Yeah, my initial lean actually was to consider a dog shot on Tom Nolan. Not Tom Nolan, Eric Nolan. But I feel like he is the more like technical striker based on what we saw from the Susarkaev fight. But to add on to what you were saying, like I think Susarkaev's grappling like hasn't. I know he got the sub, but he's primarily a striker in these fights. Hassanov, this dude, like he gets you down and he fucks you up. And his best opponent to date in LFA is 6-0. That's the guy I was talking about. He smashed him. So we'll see. Yeah. Clean sweep, though, for the debuting of the Lion from Azerbaijan as we head to the main card opener, where we have Abus Magomedov, 28-7-1, representing Germany, going up against Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, 22-9, representing Poland. This is a banger of a fight, and quite frankly, it does feel a bit of a pick'em. This feels like a coin flip fight. Abus Magomedov, he's a Dagestani that was like raised in Germany, from what my understanding is. So he blends that Dagestani kind of grappling with that German kickboxing. Germany really not known for kickboxing, but I imagine there's some kickboxing scene somewhere there. As for Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, he's primarily a striker, but even more specific, he's primarily a boxer. He doesn't really utilize kicks. He doesn't like to grapple, as we know, but he is a power puncher, a former light heavyweight. He's the better boxer in this matchup, in my opinion. But that being said, I do think Abus Magomedov is the better kicker. He is the better grappler. This is a pick'em fight. It really is, because I think you can make the case Abus Magomedov is the more complete fighter, or martial artist. But I think Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, even though we've seen him finish numerous occasions, I feel like he's got more dog and will to win than Abus Magomedov. I think there's more of a quitting points in Magomedov than there is in Oleksiejczuk. So I think the intangible is just who's a better fighter, who's going to dig harder. I think that is Oleksiejczuk. I think he hits harder, at least with his hands. Yeah, for sure. This is a tough fight. It's a really tough fight. I think there's legitimate cases to be made either way. But the way I see this, I think both are dangerous early, but I guess I'd give an edge more to Abus because he needs to be dangerous early, because we've seen this guy fade in numerous fights. Even in a win that he got against Bruno Ferreira, he looked gassed, like on death's doorstep, to take a phrase from Mike's book. The Joe Pyfer fight, it was competitive until it wasn't. The Michel Pereira fight, that was like just a gross fight. Michel Pereira just looked like he was sparring, and that was a terrible fight. Bruno Ferreira gassed out. Warley Alvarez to go the distance. That's smelly. Caio Bahayo, it was a grappling fight, not really even a fight. Sean Strickland, I think maybe Abus won the first round, but that was all part of Strickland's plan, just to drown him out, and then he had the front kick. So it seems like a lot of finish warranting wins for Abus Magomedov. As for Mikhail, I think he's got majority of the knockout stake in this fight. I think he's got the better hands. I think he's the better boxer. I think he's got more dog in him in a firefight. His losses are to Sharabola by decision, Kevin Holland by armbar in a fight where he hurt Holland, Michel Pereira by club and sub. I actually picked Michel by sub in that fight just because of the grappling. It's a really tough fight. There's so many cases you can make for either side. I think early on, Abus will have the kicking game and the grappling, but I don't know if I could trust him to do it at a high pace in a 15-minute bout. He definitely could sub Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, but I do see some improvement in Mikhail since coming to the Fighting Nerds. He's on a 3-fight win streak. It's against lesser competition for sure than what Abus is fighting, but still it's momentum. It's such a tough fight. But I think I'm going to go Mikhail Oleksiejczuk by knockout in round 3. I think this is going to be a banger of a fight. I think Abus is going to try to be technical early, try to salvage his gas tank, be moderate with his volume, but ultimately try to get to the grappling. But I have to imagine the fighting nerds with the fucking professor or whoever that like does tape study and makes all those analytic bullshit. He has to have been drilling Mikkel. You got to grapple, bro. Like he's gonna try to shoot takedowns. He don't want to fuck with you in the boxing. He's gonna want to kick, and then when you get close, he's gonna shoot a takedown. He needs to be drilling that. We can't coach our picks. We can't coach our things like that. But I just think Mikkel got more dog in him. If it isn't an early finish, I don't think I trust Abus as the fight progresses. And I think Mikkel hits hard. He's the better boxer. And I feel like if he can get past the kicking range and the grappling, he knocks out Abus more times than not. So I'm going to go with the Mikkel Oleksiejczuk third round TKO, where Abus is winning early, but he fatigues, and Mikkel smells blood, and he goes after it. Give me Poland over Germany in this one.
Yeah, I got Mikkel Oleksiejczuk as well. I just don't like Abus. I know he's fun to watch, but, like, he's just shit, man. Like, there's no, like, good techniques in his losses or wins. Like, his wins are just, like, he's only beating, like, people that is worse than him, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. He's not that special to me. I'm not going to sit here and act like Mikkel Oleksiejczuk is, like, the next coming of fucking Jan Blachowicz or some shit in middleweight. Like, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, but I don't know. I just can't. My ego won't let me pick Abus Magomedov. I don't know. It's just I've been fading him for God knows when. Like, every time when he's going past the first round, he's on death's door. Like, he's just ass to me. Like, I don't know. There's something about him. He's kind of like, in the first round, he's really solid. And then when you get to 2 and 3, he's shit. Like, I don't know, man. I got Mikkel Oleksiejczuk. I'm gonna go with a finish here. I'm gonna go with a late rounds TKO, or rather late second, late or early third. Like, I just not sold on an Abus pick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think I share the same sentiment as my friends here that Abus is just kind of a quitter. We've seen him kind of quit under the pressure before, and honestly, his wins I don't find very impressive. Taking Warlley Alves to a decision where you have to grapple is disgusting. Bruno Ferreira almost had him finished, and he just somehow had a worse gas tank than Abus, which is more on Bruno than it is Abus. And fucking the ghost of Michel Pereira, let's be honest. And he got walked down by Pfeiffer easy. I think this is a guy, there's certain guys that play at range and have that kickboxing style where you're just like afraid to close the distance. You're like, oh, I'm going to run into something. Abus is not that. Abus is a guy you can pressure. Abus is a guy you beat from pressuring. You get in his grill and you fucking land a big shot, and that's it. Bilal Muhammad's coach, Lewis Taylor, fucking got him done in 30 seconds. And that was like kind of a big fight early in Abus's UFC career where we're all like, yeah, he's going to lose to Strickland because of that. He's going to lose to Kyle because of that. I think there's a big difference between fighting somebody who wants to go in your grill and fuck you up rather than somebody who's kind of afraid of you, afraid of gassing out, willing to sit at range. Bruno Ferreira gassed out. Michel Pereira is a ghost of himself and just wants to sit in range when he's at his best, when he's in the pocket doing crazy shit. And Warlley Alves the same way, just a fucking ghost of him as well when he was like 40. These are his UFC wins, along with Dustin Stoltzfus. You can catch Dustin Stoltzfus early. That is something that has happened to Dustin Stoltzfus before. Bruno Ferreira did it. But Mikkel Oleksiejczuk, ever since Fighting Nerds going over to there, we kind of thought he looked better. That being said, it is like fucking GM3 that he's beating, and Cedric Dumas. And the Barry Alt fight was pretty tough and pretty close. And that kind of was like, I'm gonna pump the brakes on him becoming a contender. That being said, Mikkel is a guy that comes forward. He's got good boxing, and Abus just doesn't like people in his face, and he doesn't like to gas out. And Mikkel Oleksiejczuk, I think just that pressure, the body shots, it's gonna lead to a second or third round TKO for him. Because I think just Abus, like I said, if you're gonna be at range, you got to give him something to respect. Mikkel, his whole thing is like, I'm going to just get in your face and I'm not going to respect you, even if I should. So I think, like, style-wise, I think Mikkel should smoke him. I think he's going to get in his face. there's obviously a small chance of like maybe Abbas throws up a knee or like a perfect 1-2 or something like that. But I think the better boxer is Mikhail. And I think if he keeps it in that boxing range, he'll have a lot of success. I'm going to go Mikhail by KO, second or third. I just think Abbas will break, and I think that's the biggest thing. I don't see Mikhail breaking, even though like on Twitter he's like, "Oh, I'm done. I'm so shit at fighting. I should retire." It feels like he got some of that confidence back after going to the Fighting Nerds, which is good because he really isn't a bad fighter. It's just like, don't go to the ground with Abbas. That's all I'm going to say. Don't go to the ground with Abbas. Not that he's like Oliveira or anything, but he doesn't have an ability to submit you when things go rough into the third round like he did against Bruno Ferreira. But I think the pressure in the boxing is just going to be too much. I think Abbas is kind of a fraud waiting to be checked. He's already been fraud checked. It's just like he's still like floating in like that 16 to 25 range, and he's going to keep fighting guys that are similar ranked to him. And I think that's honestly bad. I think he does his best when he's fighting Dustin Stoltzfus or Warley Alves or the ghost of Michel Pereira. I don't think a guy like Mikhail Oleksiejczuk who wants to win, this reinvigorated version of him that wants to win is going to lose to Abbas Magomedov, even, in a close fight and I know Barry Alt's chinny, but he makes fights gritty. He really does. He's got a really good clinch game, and he's got a good grappling game as well. I think Mikhail will just be able to do what he does best against a guy like Abbas, and he's going to be able to exploit the one weakness we all know Abbas has. I'm going to go Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, second round KO. I'll give Abbas, I won't give him the third, but I'll get him out of the first. I'll say end of the second round. TKO on the fence, boxing combos, Mikhail Oleksiejczuk.
Clean sweep with the underdog in that one as we head back to the middleweight division where we have Bruno the Hulk Ferreira 15-3 going up against Ikram Eliskerov 17-2. Interesting fight here in the middleweight division. Bruno Ferreira the Hulk, his 3 losses, RoboCop in the rematch. He lost to Abbas Magomedov by third round sub, I believe. And his other loss, I think, was also in the UFC. It was, yes, Nurulstan Ruzaboyev in 2023. So all of his losses are at a UFC level. That's good. Knockout power for sure. Not the biggest guy for the middleweight division, but hits like a truck. Some submission threat, 5 subs out of 15 wins. I actually bet him in the Armin Petrosian fight, and he got the sub there in a fight that he kind of needed to, in my opinion. Petrosian was starting to get the momentum in that fight before he got the sub. Now he's going up against Ikram Eliskerov, who, similar to Bruno Ferreira, his losses are very good. Just like I said, it was RoboCop in the rematch, Nurulstan Ruzaboyev, who's fighting on this card, and Abbas Magomedov, who's fighting on this card, funny enough. All UFC level. Ikram Eliskerov's fucking 2 losses are Hamzat Chimaev by slip uppercut in Brave FC and Robert Whittaker in a main event of a fight night. Now, those are 2 guys who have touched UFC gold. Those are 2 very elite middleweights. So I do think Ikram Eliskerov's losses are very decent. His wins are not the best. It's like Phil Hawes, death touched him. You could say that was the end of Phil Hawes, so to speak, but he was kind of already on the end. Warley Alves, again, like what's up with these Dagestanis just bullying Warley Alves? Abbas Magomedov does it, now Robert Whittaker does. Something I don't like about Ikram, there was these 3 canceled bouts. He's had 4 canceled bouts in total in his UFC tenure. My bad, 6 canceled bouts in his UFC tenure. So this guy, a question maybe, is he coming in the best shape? But usually the Dagestanis do. Like they fucking, if they don't feel right, like, nah, the air's wrong. Like, we're not fighting today. They really take that shit serious. Like, any fucking minor inconvenience, it's like, no, we got to scrap the fight date. We're changing it. I picked Jun Young Park to beat Ikram, and he had an opportunity in the third round where Ikram started to look like he was slowing down in the fight that could have been 1-1, but probably was 2-0 in that land of the world, scoring-wise. But I picked Jun Young Park there, and the reason I did it was because of the cardio and the volume. Bruno Ferreira did show some improvement in his cardio and winning a decision against Vettori, but as much as it pains me to say, I mean, let's just call it what it is. Vettori's a fucking punching bag at this point. Until I see improvements, we're probably never going to see them. Bruno Ferreira was able to go the distance for the first time in his career in that fight. I think Ikram's grappling is better. I think his wrestling trumps Ferreira's BJJ. This fight is simply what's going to happen first. Is Bruno going to knock his ass out, or is Ikram going to take him down and smash him? I think there's a TKO that occurs in this fight. I think that would be the best bet. Fight ends in TKO. I think it's either Bruno chins him or Ikram smashes him. I think Bruno can be taken down. His takedown defense isn't great. He'll probably throw up some dumbass submission and think he'll have it in, but Ikram will just slip out and just start hammering him. I think I'm going to go. Where's most of his knockouts occur? First round, second round? Do I go first round? When's the last time Ikram had a first round finish? It was Andre Muniz. That was a sus fight. Muniz kind of went down funny in that fight. First round. I think Bruno Ferreira is better than Warley Alves and Andre Muniz. I'll give him that in terms of danger. So I guess I'll go second round. I'd spam second round. I'm going to spam second round ground and pound TKO where Ikram Aliskerov in the first round, he's just going to establish the takedown threat and he's going to try to pound him out, obviously. But more than anything, he's going to try to weigh on Bruno, try to drain him, try to make him force exchanges where he does ill-advised get-ups. And it's going to lead to Ikram just getting more dominant positions and eventually settling into like a side control. And Bruno will have enough grit to like just do enough transitions just to not like make the ref step in from the repeated ground and pound. I low-key am talking myself into a late first round ground and pound TKO, but I think it'll be like he'll just emphasize just staying on top of Bruno in the first round. And then in the second round, Bruno's going to have to like feel like, okay, I'm down a round. I have to do something big. He's going to charge forward aimlessly with his hands down. It's going to lead to either him getting a KO or what I think is going to happen, Ikram timing a beautiful takedown in the midst of him having his hands up. And it's going to then lead to Bruno having like just being tired and ultimately getting ground and pound TKO in the second round. I don't think Ikram really goes for subs. Okay, he has 5 subs. But I'm going to go ground and pound TKO second round.
Alrighty, here's my pick. You know, Bruno Ferreira and I don't have a good little track record here. If y'all don't know, we do our stats here on this channel. Tony is our stat guy. I was undefeated in middleweight predictions. And I know what you're asking, Mike. Why the fuck are you bringing that up? This is so irrelevant. Until the rematch of all rematches. RoboCop versus Bruno Ferreira. I was so confident. I know. I have a horrible record at picking Bruno in RoboCop fights. I'm very bad at picking RoboCop fights. I'll either pick him or pick against him, and either when I pick him, he does horribly. And then when I pick against him, he looks like fucking Yoel Romero. That's what pisses me off here. So it was no. Scroll to the fucking fight. Scroll to the fight here. So like, I was so confident going into that fight. Like, okay, Bruno. Yeah, people are gonna say, oh, because there was some like people that were picking RoboCop. And I was like, okay, yeah, he might be improving and all, but you know. Bruno Ferreira must be improving too. Look at the win streak he's on. You know, like I know he lost to Abus. He looked retardedly. He looked horrible in that fight. And then he gets slimed out by fucking RoboCop in the first. And I'm like, you know what? And I told Tony. Tony can hear. He can vouch for me too. I said from now on, I am never picking this motherfucker to win a fight again. It can be a winnable fight. I don't care. This shit pissed me off. I'm not trying to sound like a casual. I'm just very egotistically pissed off about this. And rightfully so. I was undefeated in middleweight predictions. I'm going with Ikram Aliskerov. I am never picking... unless if there's a fight that is genuinely winnable. Like if it's Cedric Dumas. Even... I don't even know if he could... I don't know, man. I fucking hate Bruno Silva for costing me my middleweight record. It was genuine... It was bound to happen at some point, but fuck me, man. I was looking like a genius in the middleweight division. I was feeling myself, and I just genuinely was pissed off. I wouldn't have been mad if my first loss was the first few that I've gotten incorrect. Obviously, I got Hamza incorrect. I've gotten Izzy incorrect, stuff like that. But like for that to be my first loss, bro, that genuinely made me mad. I'm picking Ikram Aliskerov, but not because of my genuine hatred for Bruno Ferreira for what he did. It's just Bruno Ferreira makes a lot of mistakes in his fights. He'll leave himself wide open to get countered. Ikram, I'm not going to sit here and act like he's like the best thing since sliced bread. Like, he's made tons of dumb mistakes. His last fight was shit, in my opinion. But I'm going with Ikram. I think he's just bigger, and I think I don't know, man. I'm just not really. I just can so see Bruno Ferreira doing stupid shit in that fight, getting himself caught. I'm going with a second round KO for Bruno Ferreira, for Ikram Aliskerov. My bad for my rant, Alex.
You're good. Yeah, I, like you, was pretty disappointed about Bruno Ferreira's performance against RoboCop. Like, this is a guy you knocked out in the first fight, and then he knocks you out in the second fight. You know, maybe that's just the way the middleweight division is with guys that have no chin and power. But I think Ikram Aliskerov's got a little bit more than that. I think he's got striking. Of course, like Bruno, like RoboCop, doesn't have a great chin. You put a good shot on him, he will be KO'd. That is the fear here with Bruno Ferreira, because he does have power. He will throw shit like spinning elbows. I would not bet on this fight. I will say that right now. I would not bet on this. The odds do it justice. I think minus 220 is respectable for Ikram, and plus 185 is respectable for Bruno. But I do think unless Bruno gets in the pocket and is allowed to kind of throw those fucking crazy strikes, he's not going to win. You know, Whitaker's a little bit different, and I know Whitaker isn't the knockout artist that Bruno Ferreira is, but he's got great footwork and he's very elusive. Once he hurts you, he can close the distance fast and finish it, which is what he did against Aliskerov. He clipped him, I think, with a hook or an overhand. Immediately, fucking darted into the pocket, uppercut, done. Bruno Ferreira ain't got that speed to do it like Robert Whitaker did. He's got powerful shots, but if you can have elusivity or grappling ability, you can really avoid it. I'm going to trust Ikram to avoid it. He's got great grappling. He's got decent striking. Khamzat Chimaev, Robert Whitaker are his only losses, and they're both by KO. So maybe Bruno KOs him. I wouldn't be surprised, but at the same time, I do think Ikram is the better fighter overall. I don't see much of the judo background that Bruno Ferreira supposedly has. He just kind of seems like a big meathead that wants to throw shots. And that's what we've seen. We haven't seen this, he's a great judo black belt. We haven't seen that. Ikram, we have seen that. We've seen him win on the feet. We've seen him win on the ground. I think Ikram is just a better fighter. And, I've said that. I'm going to keep saying it because I just think Bruno Ferreira is mid. He's got power. He's, I guess, well-rounded if you want to count in the judo background that he never shows. He's got a couple submissions, but against guys that don't have grappling, like Armen Petrosyan. Ikram Aliskerov, if he tries that shit, Ikram is going to sub him. He's going to take him down, ground and pound him. He's going to do work. I think he's able to open up on the feet specifically with the combos and the speed. I think he's the faster fighter between him and Bruno. And this might be a bit of a hot take. I almost feel like he's the better boxer, too. I feel like the combo work is way better from Ikram. Bruno's relying on one big shot or a crazy maneuver. Ikram will actually work the body. He'll throw a 4-piece combo to the head and fucking KO people. I'm going to go with Ikram. I think Bruno Ferreira is going to have a bit of a trouble closing the distance on Ikram. Ikram's got a decent jab. He's got decent kicks. He's able to fight at the long range and in the close range on the feet. And I think he's able to use that long-ranging ability to kind of jab up Bruno. And I could see him stepping in on a jab like he has before and hurting people. I want to say the Worley Alves fight. He just steps into a jab, hurts him, and then you're in his world. I could see Bruno Ferreira thinking he's hot shit enough to get hurt and shoot a takedown, go right into a Darce or a guillotine. But I guess my point is here is Ikram can win on the ground and the feet. Bruno can only win on the feet by damn near fluke KO. So I'm going to go Ikram Aliskerov, being the better fighter straight up, being good on the feet and being even better in the grappling. I think he's going to hurt him, like I said, with the jab, flying knee, something that is on it. When he does his wild moves, it's well calculated. And I think he'll hurt him and he'll sub him. I'm going to say first or second round. I'm going to say late first. Ikram's got a lot of first-round KOs in the UFC. I'm going to say Ikram drops him, subs him, end of the first round.
Just another thing to add. I know we didn't see him shoot a takedown in the Robert Whitaker fight, and he was actually the one defending the takedowns from Khamzat in their fight. But I feel like just that in itself, aside from footwork and just them being better overall fighters, the takedown defense of a Robert Whitaker, even though we didn't get to see it, like going into that fight, he on paper should do well defending Ikram's takedowns. Hamzat Chimaev's takedown defense, he should be fine if Ikram tries to wrestle. Comparing that to Bruno Ferreira, I think there's a massive gap, to say the least. Clean sweep as we move on to the flyweight division, where we have a banger here. We have Asu Alimbayev, 23-3, representing Kazakhstan, going up against Charles Energy Johnson, 19-8. This is an interesting fight in the flyweight division. I know I say interesting fight in every fight. I'll try to be more different, but this one really is interesting just in terms of like this is your prototypical striker versus grappler matchup. Asu Alimbayev, we all know what he wants to do. He wants to get this fight to the ground. He wants to wrestle. He wants to get sub threat and, just establish top control and position. Asu, I've been pretty like high on. I've seen him at Brave FC. I always felt like he was the better Kazakhstan flyweight between him and Azat Maxim. Despite Maxim being, I guess, like more exciting style, I always felt like, just Asu's experience and he has an identity. Like he knows what he is. I feel like Azat tries to be a grappler, tries to be a striker. Like Asu is going to go straight to work. He knows what he's good at. He's not going to really change it. Obviously, as you can see from his record, 3 knockout wins and 23 wins. Like he's not a knockout artist by any means. His ground and pound isn't even particularly crazy. He's a sub threat on the ground, and he's got great conditioning to be able to push a wrestling heavy pace, 10 decisions out of 23 wins. His losses, though, it's Manel Cap, who is now, after last weekend, the all-time flyweight knockout leader. So no shame in that. And he didn't even really get like colded in that fight. Like he just like, did the eye poke and like that was it. That was the fight. That's kind of it, Oh yeah, my bad. Tagir Ulanbek off TKO'd him in the 3rd round. Not the best look. Tagir's not a finisher, but still that's a name that we recognize. And he lost a decision to, at the time, a fighter who was 1-2. Not the best look there either. But those were his only losses. 2 of them were early, and then the Manel Cap loss. In the UFC, not too much of a finisher. He only has the rear naked choke over Ode and the sub recently over Alex Perez, his last fight. But outside of that, yeah, those were his only 2 finishes in the UFC, literally. Ode Osborne and Alex Perez. Every other fight, he goes the distance. I would say Charles Johnson has the knockout upside. His style is he's long, rangy for the division, 5'9", 70 reach. I mean, he will have a massive height and reach advantage in this matchup. His claim to fame, despite his 19-8 record, he has arguably 2 of the best wins in the flyweight division right now. He knocked out the reigning champion Joshua Van and up-and-coming contender Loner Kavanaugh. That in itself is like, that's MMA in a nutshell. How the fuck did this guy knock out Joshua Van and Loner Kavanaugh? Like, actually, this is the guy that did it. The guy with the skullet, the fucking mohawk, whatever the shit is on the back of his head. Yes, the former LFA flyweight champion is the guy to do that. And I think the reason those things happened is because, well, for the Van fight, I feel like, some people say fluke. I would just say he's the bigger guy. He was 5'9", 70 reach. He had a significant size advantage like he will have in this fight against Asu. And then the Loner Kavanaugh fight, I thought Kavanaugh won round 1, but he gassed out and tried to grapple and it like backfired on him. That's like the logical like explanation for those outcomes, in my opinion. In this fight, Asu is going to want to get takedowns. He's going to want to try to sub Charles Johnson. I think Charles has all the striking upside. He's going to be the bigger guy. We know Charles can push a heavy pace, but historically in the UFC, at least, his problem has kind of been grapplers, guys. He beats Sumiderji, but like Sumiderji would try to grapple. But like to the 2 examples that really like come out to me is the Rafael Estevam fight and who else was it? I think it was Ramazan Temirov. It might have been him. Yeah, I think Temirov even mixed in takedowns, but mainly the Rafael Estevam fight. If you have the conditioning to push grappling and wrestle, even though Charles does have good takedown defense, it's against a certain level of guys. Like Cody Durden, he was able to beat him with a wrestling heavy game plan. I think Alimbayev is more durable than Durden. I don't think Alimbayev's a better striker than Durden, but I think he is more durable and he has good conditioning. It's a tough fight because it's either going to be an Alimbayev decision win that has Charles Johnson. No, Charles has never been subbed, so I like that a lot. It's either a Charles Johnson knockout or a Alimbayev decision. I really think it is either one of these two outcomes. Johnson just doesn't have luck in decisions, though, man. He's 8-7, and if he loses here, he'd be 8-8. He got knocked out by Alex Perez. Alimbayev was down 2-0 and was able to get a sub. I mean, I don't want to MMA math it, but it's a tough fight. It's either Johnson late knockout or Alimbayev decision, I think. Fuck. He has a problem with grapplers, though, but he has good takedown defense. That's a tough fight. I do think Johnson has fought better guys, though. Sumaderji, Maxim, Van, Kavanaugh, Perez. Like, he has fought some names. Alimbayev has fought, like, Manel. He was down 2-0 to Perez. Perez did knock out Johnson, though. Ochoa, he did win against Ochoa, though. That's a good win. I reckon Ochoa is as dangerous as Johnson, if not more. Fuck. This is arguably the toughest fight of the night to call, really, in my opinion, low-key. Outside of the main event. Like, but even more so, I think this is such a tough fight. I'm taking forever on this, but that's because I'm so torn. It's either Johnson knockout or Alimbayev decision. Man. 10-1 in decisions, and his only decision loss was against a bum, though. Fuck. This is so tough. Man. I could so see a world where Johnson stuffs takedowns and he's lighting them up on the feet. Oh, my God. I'm really going to pick Skullet, even though he fucked me in the Alex Perez fight. But then didn't we all pick Bruno Silva? I think we all picked that. I think we may have picked Bruno Silva against Charles Johnson. I don't remember. I have to relook at it. Fuck. It's taking forever. I'm gonna go with. I have no conviction in this pick. Who do I go with? Man. Oh my God, I'm taking forever. I'm fucking shitting my pants. I really don't know who to go with here. I really don't. I'm going to go with, I can't believe it. I'm going to go Charles Johnson by third round TKO, where, you know, like, this guy will lose to Cody Durden, but he'll beat fucking Joshua Van and fucking Loner Kavanaugh. It's just, this is MMA. Styles make fights, and he has a significant size advantage against Asu Alimbayev. He's 5 inches taller. He's 70-inch reach, at least a 4-inch reach advantage. He has volume. He's going to have the power advantage. He's the better striker. He has decent takedown defense. He's going to know what Alimbayev. The thing about Alimbayev, what makes me want to go against him here, is the Nicolau fight. In a fight where he had grappling success, his output in this volume is terrible. I don't know how he won the Ochoa fight. I thought he barely won that. I'm going to go Johnson by third round TKO in a fight where he's arguably down 2-0, where Alimbayev is hugging him to death. But in the third round, Charles Johnson just does what he always does and turns up, and he flurries him. I'm going to go third round TKO to an Alimbayev who kind of blew his load shooting takedowns for the first 2 rounds, and it's going to be not enough. Unless he subs him early, I think Alimbayev is going to ultimately get finished in the third round. Good fight. Maybe not a good fight, but like a good result to the ending. I don't know.
All right, now after Tony just fucking took his sweet-ass time on that shit. Nah, you're good, bro. I'm going with Asu Alimbayev. I just think Asu Alimbayev, I don't know, man. It is a tough fight that Tony said. It is a fair reason why he took fucking 20 years to pick, but honestly, man, it is a hard fight. But I am gonna go with Asu. I'll go with the 50-50 odds here. I'll go with a decision for Asu Alimbayev, where it looks like he's losing the fight, but then he gains back momentum in certain decisions. I don't know. I just can't see myself picking Charles Johnson after what he just did in the Alex Perez fight. And he didn't look good against Bruno Silva. I thought he lost, so he's due for a loss after that shit. I'll go in with Asu Alimbayev via a 29-28 decision.
So, Mike, you picked Asu. Tony, who'd you pick?
Charles Johnson, third round TKO, where he's down 2-0.
Yeah, this is a fucking tough one, man. This is really tough because we've seen both guys lose. That being said, Asu's loss is against Manel Kopp, who's pretty much the current number one contender, considering Pantoja doesn't come back in a timely fashion. But Charles Johnson, he's kind of been around, but that Alex Perez fight is stinky. He got KO'd by Alex Perez. Almabayev was losing to Perez, but he was still able to find the submission before the fight was over. He wasn't in nearly as much danger as Charles Johnson was in that first round. And, I feel like Alex Perez is one of those guys, weight cut matters, how he feels in the camp matters. Maybe it was a good it seemed like both versions of them got a good version of Perez. Maybe Charles Johnson got a little bit better. I'm not sure. I can't wait to hit the Zah myself. But I think, Charles Johnson on the feet should have the advantage. Do I expect Charles Johnson to get KO'd on the feet by Asu? No. Do I expect him to get submitted by Asu? No. Of course, it's more of Asu's neck of the woods if the fight's close, which Charles Johnson tends to make fights close. I could see Asu getting the decision. But I really think Asu isn't as good of a grappler as Muhammad Mokaev is. He does have to get in, get the takedown, get on top, and pretty much find a submission. I don't think Charles Johnson's a very easy guy to hold down. And these guys that have been, Bruno Silva's case almost beating, and Alex Perez's case beating, these guys are short and powerful. These guys have power in their hands. They have good boxing. I can't say the same about Asu. I think the best thing about on the feet with Asu is the kicks, honestly. And I think that could be effective early to kind of keep Charles Johnson at bay, keep the strikes at a distance, the boxing at least, and then set up your takedowns with the kicks. That being said, Charles Johnson won the Tiger Muay Thai Championship. He's a good kicker himself. He's got good kicks. He's got good punches. And he's got a wrestling background. He's got an Olympic wrestling tat on his back. This is not a guy who's weak in any area, to be honest. I think, he just fights a lot of good guys. He loses some. He beats some, like Joshua Van, who's the current champion, and then he loses to Alex Perez. It's not worth always explaining because MMA is such a unexplainable sport. Justin Gaethje beat Ilia Topuria and is now the lightweight champion. Michael Johnson has made a career out of this sort of thing. And they have the same last name. And I've always joked, they must be related because Charles Johnson and Michael Johnson, they'll lose the ones they should win, and they win the one they should lose. I think in Azerbaijan against a Caucasus fighter, this is the fight he should lose. Therefore, I'm picking him to win. I think the striking is really what takes this above. And I think, Asu had no takedown threat really against Alex Perez. It was about when Alex shot on him, he got the guillotine. It was a submission threat, not a wrestling threat. And I just don't think Charles Johnson's really going to put himself in those positions. He hasn't been subbed in the UFC. He's been KO'd once by a guy who hits hard, and despite not being very good, Alex Perez is damn near a weight bully. He's missed weight more times than he's made weight, it feels like. And he's canceled a ton of fights because he's had problems on the scale. This is a big guy with power and good calf kicks. And he's a guy that can get in your face and not respect your punches because he kind of hits like a bantamweight compared to like a Charles Johnson or Asu Almabayev. But in this particular fight, I think the output of Charles Johnson, the jab, the overall boxing and striking ability is really what's swaying me in that side to pick Charles Johnson because I think he's got good takedown defense. He survived 3 rounds with Mokaev, looking good, winning a round. I don't think Asu's all that. I think Asu's good. This is a tough fight, a fight I wouldn't bet on, I'll say. But I am leaning slightly Charles Johnson, just being the better striker, having a good wrestling background, defending the takedowns. Asu's got good kicks, but it's like, are body kicks to the forearms going to win you a fight? Maybe in Azerbaijan, maybe in the Caucasus when they want you to win. But, I think Charles Johnson, I feel like anytime we have a fight like this, there's like one where like, they're going to rob it for this guy. And they don't. They do it right. And you're like, oh, okay then. And I think this is that one. I think Charles Johnson is that one. He gets to a decision with Almabayev. Everybody's like, oh, they're going to give it to Almabayev. It's close. It's a split decision. Even though Charles Johnson should win, they're going to give it to Almabayev. And then they do the right thing and give it to Johnson in a split decision. I'm going to say Charles Johnson split decision win. Just a better striker. There's moments where he gets out-grappled, out-kicked by Almabayev, kind of leading into that split decision where you're like, all right, Almabayev got the takedown, held him down in the second round. The third round was close where Almabayev got a takedown at the end, but Charles Johnson outstruck him for most of it. And I think it'll be a split decision win. Very close fight for Charles Johnson. Glad I'm not betting on this. I kind of am scared for my predictions just because This is such a close fight, but I am going to go Charles Johnson by decision, split decision.
Just another thing to add, at least in the UFC, like the people that have mixed up the grappling on Charles Johnson, it was like Ramazan Temirov and like Rafael Estevam. It was, I think, it's because Temirov had power and a threat on the feet to mix in the takedown threat. But for Estevam, he was just like similar to Perez, like you're saying, like he just missed weight consistently at flyweight, and he's a big guy. The thing that does it for me is the size advantage in this fight. He's like 5 inches taller than Alimbayev, and he's got like a reach advantage too. I think that's huge in this fight. As we head to the next matchup in the lightweight division, our feature fight of the night, Nazim Sajikov, 11-2-1, representing Azerbaijan, going up against Mateus Camilao, 10-3, representing Brazil. Mateus Camilao's last fight was a bit questionable to me. He got the decision win over Slavakos after his loss in his UFC debut to Gabe Green, who made his lightweight debut, I believe, like coming down from welterweight. Let's talk about the Borishev fight before we talk about the Gabe Green fight. His first win in the UFC, I thought those scorecards were a bit crazy. I think like 1 or 2 judges, definitely one gave him like a 30-27. I thought that the fight was closer than that. And that's coming from someone who picked Mateus. I thought like, if any grappling exchanges were occur, he'd be more dominant against someone like Vyacheslav, who's been very one-dimensional. Like we know what he is. He's just a kickboxer. And that fight just like, even though he won, it just felt closer than what it was. As for the Gabe Green fight, in a fight where he was favored, I believe he's been favored in both bouts. I want to say, I think he was favored in the Slavakos fight, but definitely the Gabe Green fight. He just like I think he blew his load in the first round, like, and the lights were too bright, and then like he shot like a bad takedown into a ghillie, or like, and not even a ghillie, like it set up the transition for the rear naked. He's still very green despite having 13 pro fights. All of his pro losses are by submission. He's an okay striker, but he just can't show it like at a UFC level for a consistent 15 minutes. As for Nazim Sajikov, coming off that loss to Faris Ziam by finish, Ziam lost recently to Tom Nolan, and that's not aging well. But I still think Ziam's a good loss. But to get finished by a guy like Ziam, is that the best look? He's kind of a decisionator for what we know. To get finished by him, is that the best look? I don't know, especially by TKO. Prior to that, he had a banger against Nicolas Mata in a fight that he even got like knocked down by body shots up against the fence, but was able to rally and stop Mata. Before that, he won the upset against Ismail Bonfim. I think he was an underdog in that fight, and it was a weird one. Like he had a head kick that got a cut and led to a doctor stoppage. And then he had that all-timer in UFC 295 in a draw with Vyacheslav on the prelims. Nazim's well-rounded. I like that he trains at Syndicate. I like that he trains at Longo. I would say, even though they have a similar record, he's fought better competition, at least at a UFC level. He's 4-1. His only loss is against Ziam. And I just think Ziam's better than Camilo. So for all those reasons, I'm going to go with Nazim Sajikov, the Black Wolf. I think he can go for the sub or a late TKO. I think training at Longo, they're going to want to emphasize grappling, I think, in this one. I think just making Mateus work, exacerbating his gas tank. Hopefully that's a real word. I think he's going to just try to move around, get in a high-paced fight, and just usually, not to be stereotypical, but to be stereotypical, Brazilian fighters are very explosive and they're very dangerous. But as the fight continues and the finish hasn't presented itself early on, you see that explosiveness kind of fatigue and it kind of dwindle naturally, unless they're on drugs, steroids. But, like typically they'll be dangerous early, but as the fight progresses, they'll fatigue. He got a perfect example is the Nicolas Mata fight. A Brazilian guy was fucking him up in the first round, and then he got tired, and he got stopped in the second round. I think a similar situation can occur here. But instead of a knockout, I think I'm torn between third round or second round submission. I think not a club and sub, just Nazim taking him down and taking his back. I think it's going to be a high-paced fight where Nazim's just trying to work. And unless he gets knocked out early, I feel like Nazim wins this fight by decision or by late finish more times than not. So I'm going to go Sajikov by, let's go late second round submission. I'll go late second round sub Nazim. I just want to see if he has any subs on his record, just to be sure. Because I know all of Camilo's losses are by sub. He has 2 wins by submission. Most of his wins are by knockout. Yeah, I'll go late second round submission.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Tony. I'm going to go with Nazim Sajikov as well. I just think he's the overall better fighter. Mateus Camilo just makes tons of mistakes during his fights, and I think the Cerro Longo camp with Sajikov is a very good. Did he just go to Cerro Longo, or he's been there?
No, he's been there.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, I think he may have recently added Syndicate. Or maybe I'm tripping. Maybe he's just been at both. But he's definitely been at Salongo since like early, like 2021, 2022.
Yeah. If he's went to Syndicate, that's even better. Like, I mean, that's back-to-back good gyms, man. But yeah, I'm going with Sajikov. I think he's just overall better. There's some holes in his game that I don't like, but I don't think Mateus Camilo is going to be the guy to beat Sajikov, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. He's losing to Fares Ziam, I think it was. Did he lose to Fares? Yeah, he did. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Fares Ziam is that his last fight was horrible, but the run that he was on, it was you can't take anything away from it. So, but I'm gonna go with I'll go ground and pound TKO for Nazim Sajikov. Second round.
Real quick, shout out to John Sinat. Moving on, Nazim Sadikov versus Mateus Camilo. This is one of those fights where it's just like, all right, coughing baby. You know, I don't think highly of Mateus Camilo at all. I want to say he may have won his last fight, and that's the reason he's still in the UFC. But I want to say it was against somebody remarkably unremarkable. The fucking Jaguar. Vyacheslav Borsev, which he arguably lost. I think Nazim Sadikov should just win. I'm not going to wait to tell you my prediction. Nazim Sadikov should win. He's got good grappling. He's more of a striker than anything else, but he's got an ability to submit you. Mateus Camilo fucking got submitted by Gabe Green. Where is Gabe Green? Who is Gabe Green? What is Gabe Green? He's a welterweight that fucking dropped down, had the opposite of lighter man's skill, and somehow subbed you while outboxing you. Fuck that. I don't care that you're a big lightweight. I don't care that you're Brazilian. I don't care about any of that. Nazim Sadikov is going to kill you. We're in Azerbaijan. They want Azerbaijanis to win. They give Azerbaijanis fights so they can win, and this is no different. This is one of the Azerbaijanis I'm picking on this card. Nazim Sadikov's got a good striking game. I mean, the Fares Ziam loss is aging worse, I would say. But I think I want to say Tony picked Nazim Sadikov in that fight against Fares Ziam, thinking he would do what Tom Nolan did to Fares Ziam. And I think, he's still a young guy. He's still got time to improve. He's got a good gym around him, a good grappling gym. But mostly this is going to be a striking fight. Both guys primarily strikers. And if anybody does mix in the grappling, it's going to be Sadikov. He's the better grappler. He's the better striker, I believe, too. You can't lose to fucking Vyacheslav Borsev in his last fight and arguably lose. Nazim Sadikov's got decent fundamentals. He's got the ability to throw up stuff like spinning back kicks, spinning back fists, stuff like that, along with the grappling, which is really going to loom large here. Because, like, if I'm looking at a fight where these two guys are striking and one of these guys has the ability to grapple, and the other guy I don't trust in, I'm obviously picking the other guy. You know, I think, simply put, he's just got a more well-rounded game. He's got a better team around him. I've seen better from him in the UFC, whereas, in my opinion, Mateus Camilo fucking sucks. He should be 0-2. He lost to Gabe Green, who's like the biggest bum in the fucking sport, and he should have lost to Vyacheslav Borsev, who's now cut. There's no way you can make me pick Camilo. You could put a fucking shotgun barrel in my mouth and I'd still say Nazim Sadikov. And I'd die right after and I'd be happy. Just because Nazim Sadikov is actually okay and Mateus Camilo is fucking shit. Honestly, like the Black Wolf versus the Jaguar, it should be the Black Wolf versus like the fucking chinchilla. Fuck Camilo. First round. I could see him go Sadikov respecting the size of Camilo early, but at some point I think he's just gonna go and be like, all right, I'm gonna fuck you up on the feet and then I'm gonna submit you. I'm gonna say submission, club and sub, Runic, second round. I muted too early, but yeah, Sadikov, club and sub, second round, rear naked choke.
Shout out Kurt Cobain.
Yeah, to even add on more. To even add on more to Alex's statement, like if you watch that fight, dude, he won that fight because he needed to grapple Slavoclaws. Like he dead ass needed to grapple. He did not his gas tank looked shit in round. Like he needed those takedowns like air. Clean sweep for Nazim Sajikov as we head to the co-main event of the evening where we have Michel Pereira, 32-14, going up against Shara Bullet Magomedov, 16-1. Michel Pereira, former welterweight, the transition to middleweight, it's been a mixed bag of results, but ultimately I think it's been positive. I think it's been the right move. I think if he stayed at welterweight with his gas tank at middleweight, I could only imagine how shit he would be at welterweight. So I think by default, it's the right decision. Nonetheless, when he fights a certain level of competition, he does seem to wet the blanket, so to speak. Even against the Kyle Dawkins loss is aging like fucking milk right now. That is looking bad. You got first rounded by the dude who got first rounded on the White House. That's some type of shit we're on right now. Like literally. Michel Pereira is dynamic. Something I just found out, his last win in the UFC, the Zachary Reese split decision, and that was in Dallas. That was definitely in Texas, but Austin, I think it was. I think it might have been UFC Austin, I think. I want to say for sure. Definitely somewhere in Texas. That was a close fight. Fucking, I just found out there's training partners. Did y'all know that? Michel Pereira and fucking Zach Reese are training partners.
I did not know that.
I didn't know that. So that even puts more emphasis to that fight felt weird. Like he won the fight off damage, but that felt kind of sparring matchish. If it kind of to me a little bit, because I felt like Michel could have pulled the trigger more in the first round, but didn't. But that's against Zach Reese. I'm gonna venture to say Shara Bullet's better than Zach Reese. Getting first rounded by the guy who got first rounded, that's a bad look. The Abu Magomedov fight looked like a fucking sparring match. Anthony Hernandez did a word that rhymes with crepe to him. He destroyed him. He bullied him. He took his soul. He has not been the same person. Anthony Hernandez took Michel Pereira's soul in that fight. He has not been the same fighter since that fight. All that cool kicking shit all out the window ever since that fight. And then his wins are Petrosky, Oleksiejczyk, but I think run that shit back now. I'd like to see how that fight would go. Ihor Peteria, he's not in the UFC anymore. Yada yada. You already know. Shara Bullet, his one loss, it's MVP on the feet. We can rag on him all we want, haha, you one-eyed fuck, you lost, this and that, but that's MVP on the feet. A lot of guys are going to lose in that situation, and that was a great pick by Mike. I know for sure he picked him as an underdog. I remember correctly. That was a great look. Shara Bullet doesn't grapple, so Dagestani that doesn't grapple, striking MVP, that should have been a no-brainer. But I just thought that was a dumb reason why I picked Shara Bullet. I thought he could win a rigged fight, but you should not pick fights based on that. I know it's a real thing, but you shouldn't pick fights based solely on that. And that really felt like what that was for me, at least. In this fight, I don't like Michel Pereira's gas tank. In a fight that he just won, he looked awful, especially as the fight progressed. You could really make an argument Reese won the fight, but off damage, visibly, Pereira clearly out-damaged him, so I guess I give it to him, and I picked him in that fight. I picked Dawkins against him. I got to go Shara Bullet. I'm yapping too much for an easy pick. It's Shara by decision or late finish. I think a late finish could present itself. I will say this, though. I do kind of expect Michel Pereira to mix in grappling in this fight. Contrary to popular opinion, even though it's in Azerbaijan, he is going to mainly strike. It wouldn't shock me if he tried to grapple in this fight. That being said, I like that Shara Bullet did a grappling match with Edson Barboza. That's going to matter. But the grappling match with Arman Sarukian, even though he lost, grappling, work on that. Striking, you only lost to MVP. Even though his striking isn't all that, it's just kind of kicks, really. He has no boxing. Michel Pereira, he has no gas tank. So I don't feel like he's going to be able to take advantage of it. And I don't think Michel Pereira is all that dangerous anymore. So I'm gonna go Shara Bullet by. Let me see how many times Michelle Pereira has been knocked out. Can Shara Bullet knock out Michelle Pereira? I feel like he will be tired in round 3. I will feel that. He's been knocked out 3 times in like 40 fights. He's lost 8 decisions. I'll go Shara Bullet by decision. His kicks are valued higher than anything Michelle Pereira does in the fight. Shara Bullet decision.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Shara Bullet. But I'm going to go with a finish here. I'm going to go KO, second round. I think he's going to catch him. I don't know, man. Like Tony said, like, Mikel Pereira's just looked ass in his previous fights, man. It's so unfortunate, man. I remember back in the beginnings, back in the pandemic era, like Michelle Pereira was just knocking people out with fucking backflips and cartwheels and shit like that. Like, bro is going on a historic run, and then he gets frauded out by Hernandez. I'm gonna keep it short and simple. I'm going with Shara via second round KO. I think it's gonna be one of those crazy KOs. Like, Michelle Pereira is the type of guy to get knocked out with a double spinning back kick or some shit like that. Like, he's the type of dude to get flatlined like that. So I'm gonna go with something that Charles is just gonna catch him off guard with.
It is my turn now. Michelle Pereira, Shara Magomedov. You know, we want Michelle Pereira to win. We want him to raise the Israeli flag once more. We need it high. We need it in front of the White House. We should have had him in front of the White House so we can raise the Israeli flag. Nah, fuck that. Palestine winning today. Shara Magomedov's going to win. Michelle Pereira's cooked. I could honestly just end it there. I'm going to give a little bit more detail just because Michelle Pereira, like, we've seen a specific change in his game. You know, he was like the guy that would, like, try anything. He'd get in your face and just fucking do the most ridiculous shit. Fucking front flip kicks, back flip kicks, even when they're illegal, when you're on the ground and he's back flip kicking you in the head like he did Nico Price. He was like this crazy guy that was just way too physical, way too much of a specimen for the people at 170. Ever since moving to 185, like, oh, he's finally getting his stride. He's KOing Andre Petrosky. Oh, but, you know, as time goes on, it's like, okay, you win against Zach Reese, okay. Like that, you win like that, you win by decision where it's like, oh, it's a close fight, I don't know. No, that's a guy you slime. That's a guy you fucking Nickelodeon slime. You know what I mean? Like, and he just couldn't do it. And, you know, I feel like a lot of this prediction is going to be me hating on Michelle Pereira. But just before I continuing hating on Michelle Pereira, Shara Magomedov has one eye. He has one fucking eye. His depth perception is off, no matter what. Anytime he gets in a fight, I'm like, all right, 2 eyes versus 1 eye. Who wins? And that's why I picked MVP. MVP's so fast. He's so elusive. He's got such good footwork against a guy with 1 eye. He's going to be able to move in, move out, move pretty much however he wants. Michelle Pereira is not MVP. He's more stationary than he's ever been. He likes to sit there, and when he does go for his crazy shit, he'll go for it, but he doesn't have the footwork of it like an MVP, where he's going to be darting in, darting out. He's more or less right in front of you. He may throw some crazy shit while he's right in front of you, but he's still right in front of you. And I think even if this does become a ranged game, that's where Shara excels. He excels with the jabs, with the teeps, with the front kicks, and all that while skirting around the octagon. He's much better of a striker than Michelle Pereira is. And I feel like, you know, looking back on it, Michelle Pereira got so much respect that he did because he would rely on physicality and crazy moves like spinning bullshit and backflip bullshit and front flip bullshit. And Shara is more of the ideal tactical leg kick heavy, jab heavy kickboxer. And I mean, I cannot trust Michelle Pereira to go into a fucking second round, let alone a third round. Shara, I've at least seen in a loss against a superior striker that has 2 eyes. He can be in the fight. He can try to win rounds, arguably win rounds, against a much better striker than Michelle Pereira. Now, unless Michelle Pereira decides to all of a sudden shoot a double leg, this should be Shara's fight at range, in close, and everything. Pereira's probably got the more significant power, but it's reliant on crazy shit and people respecting that crazy shit that you throw. And he just doesn't throw that crazy shit anymore. So why is Chara going to respect him? Because he has 2 eyes and he has 1? I mean, that's a good reason, but I don't think it's realistic. I think Chara is just a better kickboxer at range. And Michel Pereira recently has been kind of content to sit at range, where he's going to get pieced apart by a guy like Chara. In order to win this fight, Michel Pereira's got to damn near mix in the wrestling, get in his face, throw retarded shit, throw rolling thunders, throw somersault kicks, do shit. You know what I mean? Do crazy shit that people wouldn't expect. You know, unless you're Benjamin Netanyahu, then you expect it. But Chara Magomedov, you know, he's just disciplined. And despite the 1 eye, he's a disciplined kickboxer that's got good boxing. He's got good kickboxing. Unless Pereira hits him with like some crazy fluke shit or wrestles, he should lose. That being said, Chara Magomedov can't get a fucking KO to save his life. He's a decision merchant. He's going to be point fighting on the outside until something presents itself. And even then, will it? Will Michel Pereira get KO'd by a guy like Chara Magomedov? I feel like he could, simply because of the cardio and the reliant on ridiculous shit. He could try some ridiculous shit and get chinned. He could gas out and get chinned, even though Chara is not a knockout artist. Part of me wants to say 3rd round, like body kick KO while he's tired. Another part to me thinks like it's just going to be a boring decision. But I feel like there's a little hate here. You know, Palestine, Israel, you know, I feel like there's a little hate there. And I think Chara is going to be able to go for it. If Chara sees Michel Pereira's hurt, he's going to go for it and look for the finish. And I'm going to trust him to get it in the 3rd round, despite history not telling me that. I think, you know, when Pereira's at his most gassed out, he's going to sting him to the body with something, teep, body kick, straight to the body, something, and then he's just going to go for it. Flying knee, spinning wheel kick, spinning back fist, spinning elbow. And I mean, I know I've spent a lot of time talking about Pereira's crazy shit. Chara throws crazy shit too, but it's technical. He's going to throw a double spinning back fist where he feints this way and throws this way. You know, and that's the type of shit where it's like, at that point, it isn't crazy. It isn't just like a fluke. It's systematic. It's designed to land the way that it is. He feints one way with his spinning back fist, so he lands the other way. You know, I don't think Chara's going to get far. I think he'd lose to Bo Nickel. I think he'd lose to a lot of ranked guys, but he's technical, he's systematic, and he beats a guy who's cooked as Michel Pereira. 3rd round, TKO, Chara Magomedov. Body kick leading into a knee to the head or something like that.
Yeah, 100% firm agreement, clean sweep. I think if he doesn't grapple, it's going to be very sparring-ish and if it's like that, that's like Chara's game. Unless he like blitzes in, I think the counter can present itself 100%. As we move on to the main event of the evening, Rafael Fiziev, 13-5, representing Azerbaijan, going up against Manuel Torres, 17-3. Let's talk about the main man who this event is pretty much based for, I think. Rafael Fiziev, 13-5. Don't let the record fool you. He's only fighting the best guys in the lightweight division for the most part. We look at his losses, most recently Mauricio Rufy. I picked him as an underdog in that fight. Rufy got a 2nd-round knockout. I picked Rufy by decision, so he exceeded my expectations in that one. I think Fiziev won the 1st round in that fight, though. Then he lost to Gaethje twice. The Gamrot fight, you know, injury TKO, can't predict that. And his UFC debut was against Magomed Mustayev, and he got hit with, for people who play UFC 6, the death kick, which is a spinning side kick to the head. It hit him. I'm tweaking it. A spinning back fist. No. I know I'm right. Spinning back kick and punches. Yeah, no, I'm right. The death kick. It was the death kick. 100%. It was the death kick by Magomed Mustayev. So those are his losses. He's getting knocked out by a death kick. He's losing to Gaethje twice, who now we have, you know, he is the champion of the world. As much as I'm critical of him, you know, got to give him credit as a champ. You lost to him twice in a striking bout, you know, whoop-de-doo. And Mauricio Rufy, who is essentially a top 3, top 5 striker in the lightweight division right now. I mean, and Gamrot by injury TKO. So, that record, you know, asterisks. His wins, Ignacio Bahamondes in a striking bout in Azerbaijan. Rafael Dos Anjos in a 5-round main event where he found the finish. Brad Riddell by wheel kick. Bobby Green, which is an aging win that's aged well. Renato Moicano by 1st-round KO, which has also aged well. DK is not in the UFC anymore. So these are not bad wins, and his losses are all good. As for Manuel Torres, the underdog here, El Loco, this is, I think, a Mexican fighter that a lot of people could get behind just in terms of the entertainment value that Manuel Torres brings to the cage. This guy is a prolific finisher. In 17 wins, he has 16 finishes, 7 submissions, 9 TKOs. I think all of the finishing upside is Manuel Torres in this fight, especially early on. I think he hits harder than Fiziev. I think he's one of the hardest hitting 155ers in the division. And you know how I fucking know that? Because he knocked out one of the top 3 knockout artists in the lightweight division in Drew Dober. And he did it in the first round. So Manuel Torres hits like a truck. And he's also got weird submission power. He's fucking did it to Chris Duncan. To be able to do that in the first round, I rate that. So I think all of the finishing upside is 100% Manuel Torres. Don't get me wrong, Fiziev could get a finish, but it'd have to be in 3, 4, 5. I think 1, 2 is all Manuel Torres, in my opinion. But that being said, is he a bit of a first-round merchant? Manuel Torres hasn't been outside of the first round in fucking, since 2020. What is this? 2020. Dude, he hasn't been outside of the first round since, bro, when is the last time he hasn't been outside the first round? Dude, literally all of his fights end in the first round. What the fuck? He has no second rounds. He went to a decision one time. When was that? When was the last time he went to a decision? When was that? Heel hook, knee bar, all first round. Where was the decision? Heel hook. Where am I seeing it? I'm tweaking. It said he has a decision loss. No, his decision win. I'm tweaking. Yeah. All of his fights are the first round. That is fucking insane. Oh, here it is. Yeah. Split decision. This is it. 2018. He hasn't been outside of the first round since 2018. And it's 2026. 8 years of just straight finishes, whether it's him or the other guy. So, yeah, all the finishing upside's him. I think the longer the fight goes, you drastically have to favor Rafael Fiziev. It's just, this really is a crazy fight because Fiziev is the kind of better fighter at a UFC level, and his losses are all good. And if the fight goes longer, he should win. But you're catching him at the right time. He just got knocked out by Rufi, and this guy's literally lives in the first round. He hasn't been outside of the first round since 2018. It's a tough fight. It's either Fiziev by decision or late finish or Torres early. Fiziev has shown more takedowns as of late. If he does that, I fear he'll put himself into a submission. But I'm just still shocked by that stat. That is insane. He has literally lived in the first round since 2018. That's crazy to me. If you're picking Torres, you have to pick him by first round finish. It's either knockout or sub. He's the much bigger guy, 5'10", 73. The reach, particularly 73.5-inch reach. Fiziev's 5'7". He's 5'8", 71.5-inch reach. He's the better striker. This fight is really black and white. It's either Torres early or Fiziev, if it gets out of round 1. Logic is to pick Fiziev in Azerbaijan, but at the same time, he is coming off of a knockout, and he took damage in the Gaethje fight. And, knock on wood, I pray he doesn't get, a leg injury. What if he gets hurt? What if he throws a bad kick? It's a fight. Anything can happen in the fight. It's kind of bad for me to pick Torres because you're really banking on him to get a first round finish. But I don't know, man. I feel like he's catching Fiziev at the right time. Fiziev is elusive. He has good footwork. But I like Manuel Torres. I know he lost to Bahamondes. He got sniped. He looked like a bum against Bahamondes, and Fiziev just beat Bahamondes in a 5-rounder. But man, better striker is Fiziev, better kicker. It's just his chin and the power. Oh. Yeah. I'm going to go. Do I want to go with the underdog here, man? Fuck. Death kick, injury TKO, Gaethje twice. Gaethje's good. And Rufi's good. It was the second round with Rufi. He won the first round against Rufi. Rufi's more technical than Torres, but Torres is just going to run at him in the first round. That's what he's going to do. He doesn't really shoot takedowns. Such a tough fight. I think you have to pick Fiziev. Does Torres hit harder than Gaethje though? I kind of think so. Fuck. Logic is Fiziev for sure. If you're picking Torres, you are picking a first round finish. But I think he's catching him at the right time. I'm sorry, Azerbaijan. And it's funny because I picked Bahamondes and I was wrong last time. And I think Bahamondes is a better striker, proven than Torres. But I think Torres is just going to hunt the finish, and he's catching Fiziev at the perfect time. I think the kicks are something to worry about, but Fiziev, like the last guy he knocked out was RDA. Torres has been knocked out before, but I don't think Fiziev hits that hard with his hands. It's got to be a kick. And you're picking Fiziev to like kind of be on the back foot and counter him and shit. Torres got the reach and the power. Give me first round TKO, Manuel Torres. Could be a club and sub panic kick
on. I'm going. I don't really agree with Tony, man. I'm gonna go with Rafael Fiziev. I just genuinely feel like Manuel Torres fights a game where Rafael Fiziev is really good at. Rafael Fiziev is a really good counter striker, and I'm just not really high on Manuel. Yeah, you beat Grant Dawson. I picked you to beat Grant Dawson. Like, I don't know. I'm not really high on Manuel. He's kind of mid on the feet. He just tries to out Mexican you in the first round and try to knock you out. Like, I don't know. I'm going with Fiziev. I know this is the best time to catch Fiziev to get knocked out, but I don't know, man. I just don't really see it. I can see Fiziev surviving the first round and Manuel gets tired trying to knock him out and Fiziev just snipes him at some point. Fiziev is really good, man. He's good at countering. We've seen him infamously dodge a big ass roundhouse kick and shit like that. Like, he's got very good head movement. It may not look like it because he got sniped by Rufi and Gaethje beat him, but as much as I shit on Gaethje, he is a world champion, and Rufi is Rufi. He's really good, man. He's a really good fighter. I think those two guys are way calculated than Manuel, man. I'm sorry. Like, I'm going with Rafael Fiziev. I'm going with mid-second, early third counter shot KO. I just think he's going to catch Manuel Torres coming out of nowhere. Manuel does not know how to he doesn't know how to move his fucking head when he throws something. Like, he's not really good at blocking shit, and he leaves his chin wide open when he throws wild shit. I could just so see him getting sniped out of nowhere by Fiziev. I'm going with Rafael Fiziev, second or third round KO.
This is a tough fight. I know recently we've seen Fiziev get nothing but fucked up, and that's kind of the part that's like, Fiziev is going to lose to a guy that's bigger, has power, and can box. But at the same time, Fiziev has faced more or less some of the best strikers in the sport. He's fought, I don't want to call Gaethje one of the best strikers in the sport, but I guess he's the champion. He's lost to him twice, which is our biggest, against.
I hate to say it, you have to say Gaethje's a good striker. You have to.
He is. And, before now, that was our, he lost to Gaethje twice on the feet. You're supposed to be this Muay Thai striker, GOAT, coach that teaches everybody at Muay Thai, in Tiger Muay Thai. But, people got to look at it realistically. I get it, he's a 155er, he's fought the best. He's a 145er. I'm going to say that now. He's a fucking featherweight. He is not a lightweight. He's small as fuck against anybody he fights. He's got good kicks. Against Moicano, he looked like he had good boxing, but then you remember, Moicano has no chin, and if you can close the range with the kicks, you're going to KO him. And Fiziev's whole game is kicks, so of course he's going to close the distance on Moicano and KO him. It was like a perfect stylistic matchup. This is different. Manuel Torres has grappling and punches. He's got great boxing. He's got tons of power. He's huge for the weight class. If this gets into 3, 4, 5, maybe I can see Fiziev pulling it out. But then again, let's think about Fiziev's career. He's losing the third round to Bobby Green. He's known for gassing out in 3-rounders. Against a guy like Manuel Torres, who's, I'm going to be honest, is kind of reliant on getting a finish within the first 2 rounds. We've never seen him win a decision. He wins by finish or he loses by finish. That being said, who does Fiziev finish? Brad Riddell, who hasn't fought since, might even be cut at this point. Moicano, who's a perfect stylistic matchup for him. If you can get past Moicano's kicks, you can chin him. Fiziev's whole game's his kicks, like I said. Torres is different. You can't just close the distance on Torres and expect him not to fucking throw something back. And he's so big, he's so long, he's got so much power. You can't not respect that. If I'm Fiziev, I'm staying on the back foot all day. I'm kicking, not boxing. I'm making it as boring as I can. I'm playing at range as much as I can. I'm trying to make it go as long as I can. I might even mix in some grappling myself. That being said, if you look at these guys, Fiziev, like I said, he's fucking featherweight. Torres, he's a big lightweight that probably will go to 170 one day in his career. He's got a ton of power, unless some like weight cut magicians are on the scale and he turns out to be like a weight bully that can't, like if he has a bad weight cut, he can't perform or anything like that. Maybe he loses, but he seems to have made weight every time without too much effort. He's got power. He's got an ability to submit you if you get to the ground, which is just about as much as Fiziev can say if it can get to the ground. Honestly, more, because Fiziev's never submitted anybody. He just threw up like a retarded inverted triangle on Gaethje. And, as time goes on, I guess the Gaethje fights look a little bit better since Gaethje beat Topuria. But Topuria is Topuria, and I feel like Topuria, I don't want to sound like I'm coping, but it damn near slipped on the banana peel against Gaethje. That was probably the worst Topuria I've ever seen and probably the best Gaethje I've ever seen. That's like a 1 in 50 chance that happens again. But it happened. And Fiziev got the Gaethje that I feel like was a little bit slower, a little bit less good, a little bit less methodical. And I think, in this particular fight, he has to let the kicks do the work. He cannot go into boxing range with Torres and expect to survive. Torres is Mexican. He's got a great chin, unless you have like crazy extension like Ignacio Bahamondes. If this gets into a close range, I am going to pick Manuel Torres easy. That being said, Fiziev's got a little bit more experience. He's fought at the higher level. Manuel Torres kind of went into the top 15, lost to Bahamondes, and built himself back ever since. But I think, styles make fights, kind of like I was saying with the Moicano Fiziev fight. It was a perfect style matchup for him. And I think this is a perfect style matchup against him. I'm going to go Manuel Torres by KO. I think, I don't think he's as technical. I don't think he's as good of a striker as Rufi is. That being said, I think Rufi had something different in this fight than Manuel Torres. Manuel Torres wants to get in the pocket, similar to a Michel Pereira and Sharon Magomedov fight I was talking about. Manuel Torres wants to get in the pocket, unlike Michel Pereira. He wants it. He needs to get into that pocket in order to win. He wins in close exchanges. And his reach, despite being in a short range fight, actually benefits him. Because in a short range fight, he can fight at a slightly larger range than Fiziev can. He's boxing at a range where Fiziev is like throwing body kicks. And I think that's huge for him, simply because of the fact of the size. Fiziev is a featherweight damn near. Torres is a welterweight damn near. And I think, if this fight goes into 4 and 5, I can't even trust Fiziev because of his gas tank that he's proved in more of his fights than not. He gassed out against Bobby Green. He gasses out more of his fights than not. I get it. He KO'd Brad Riddell in the 3rd round, but who the fuck is Brad Riddell? He's a guy that took Fiziev's spot once Fiziev went to the UFC as Tiger Muay Thai coach. Riddell is literally a replacement Fiziev. So, of course, Fiziev's going to KO him, even though I picked Riddell. But Manuel Torres, this is a different stylistic matchup. Big guy, small guy, power in the hands versus no power in the hands. I'm going to pick Manuel Torres KO in the 2nd round. I just think Fiziev's confidence has been an all-time low. His chin at an all-time low. And I think Manuel Torres, his confidence, all-time high. Coming off of wins of guys like Chris Duncan, where you submit him in the 1st round, despite being known as a powerful boxer, is huge. You can use that. you can get it submission over Fiziev. That being said, I'm going to pick him by KO in the second round, but I do think Torres and Fiziev, it's a close fight. Fiziev can win, but I think the styles just match up a little bit more in favor of Torres. So I'm going to pick Torres, second round KO, using his power, using his size to get that KO in the boxing range. Torres, second round KO in a brutal scrap as long as it lasts.
All right. And those are all of our picks for UFC Azerbaijan. Overall, I think it's a great card. I think it's a good main event. Should be very exciting. Co-main event, you get Shara Bullet, rank fight with Asu Alambayev and Charles Johnson. A lot of names we recognize. An undefeated fighter on the card that we all rate very highly. Another, like, multiple undefeated fighters. Yeah. All in all, I think this is a great crowded event. And should be a good one here in Baku. Anything you guys feel like you'd like to add?
This is one of the first fights I'm going to miss in a while because I'm going to be at Disney World, but I do plan on watching it pretty much live on the train as soon as I get on it on Sunday. Deleting Instagram, deleting ESPN, deleting anything that could fucking give me a spoiler. I'm watching it live a day later on the train just to see how this whole card, turns out. Decent card. Definitely going to be good to watch on the train on the way back. Shout out to Manuel Torres. Shout out to Fiziev. But yeah, Azerbaijan, you keep getting main events. You keep getting fight nights. You keep getting events based on your country, despite Georgia and Armenia being next door and having way more fighters. So, I mean, hey, whatever you're doing, it's working out. Keep doing it. I do have to say this. They have the biggest indoor arena known to man. Let's fucking put a fight there. We have so many Caucasus fighters. Let's put them in the biggest arena in the Caucasus we possibly can in Azerbaijan. Let's fucking do it right away. Because I don't even know where this fight is really being held. I know it's obviously in Baku, Azerbaijan, but I don't know what venue. Let's put it in the biggest venue possible. Indoor, outdoor, let's do it. We have so many Caucasus fighters. Make it a pay-per-view. Islam Makhachev main event. Khamzat Chimaev co-main event. You could really do something here. Instead of just throwing these Caucasus fighters on American cards or European cards, let's make a proper Caucasus main event with title fights in a pay-per-view in a country like Azerbaijan, which has great structure, great stability, great stadiums. Let's fucking do it. What are we waiting for? We're going to keep putting fucking Fiziev Torres on here. We're going to keep putting Hill Roundtree on here. Let's build a fucking pay-per-view built around the Caucasus fighters so they can stop stinking up American events. Let's do a pay-per-view in like April of next year. Miami can be May. Miami can be March. Let's do a fucking big Caucasus pay-per-view in Azerbaijan in one of the biggest stadiums of the world with guys like Islam, Khamzat, and some of the biggest Muslim and biggest Caucasus fighters we know known to man. Let's do it. Let's stop dragging.
Mike, is there anything you'd like to add, or are you good? Good. All right. We appreciate you guys for tuning into UFC Baku. This should be a good one. And just a reminder for at least East Coast time, it's 9 a.m. for me. So I don't know what it is for y'all time zones, but on East Coast, it's 9 a.m. start time. So this is an early one. But again, appreciate you guys for watching the video. Make sure to go like and subscribe. Peace. And we are out.